we present the news quiz with your host, for the first time, Miles Jupp.
Hello, and welcome to the news quiz. We start with a cutting from the Waltham Forest Guardian, read by Neil Sleet.
A couple who performed sex acts on each other on a packed train have been sentenced in court. Magistrates heard how the couple were seen openly performing the sex acts before they got off at Chelmsford.
Well, our thanks to everyone who sent us that. Smart. Now, let's meet the teams. Will you welcome first, on my right, Susan Calman and Conservative peer and Times journalist Danny Finkelstein. And opposite them, on my left, stand-up comedian Sarah Kendall and Mark Steele. So, Susan, who didn't sing a song when other people were singing a song?
Yes, now this is a story which may well have slipped under the radar for a lot of people. There's not been a lot of coverage. You may not really have noticed what's been going on. So let me just try and summarise what's happened. A man called Jeremy Corbyn was elected leader of the Labour Party last weekend. He got down to business quite quickly. The Times informed us he was riding a Chairman Mao-style bicycle, as we know it, a bicycle. Corbyn quickly announced a shadow cabinet, which, depending on how you feel about it, had more than enough women, not enough women, too few women, Hilary Benn, insert own joke, and Lord Voldemort as Shadow Chancellor. He attended, though, the Battle of Britain Memorial, and I believe he's an avowed Republican, and stood, as I understand it, in respectful silence whilst people were singing the national anthem. But to some that meant he was doing the equivalent of holding a photograph of the Queen naked with her skin flayed from her body, if you read some of the coverage. Now, my understanding is that it's not against the law not to sing the national anthem. It's not North Korea yet. Although, if Corbyn gets his way... My favourite thing that happened, though, was David Cameron's tweet that he sent straight after Corbyn was elected, which said that Corbyn was a threat to our national security, our economic security, and your family, your family's security. And I was glad he sent that, Miles, because that very day, a man knocked on my door to read my gas meter. And I said, "Are you Jeremy Corbyn?" And he said, "No," but I thought, if I was Jeremy Corbyn, that's what I'd say. And I slammed the door in his face and I phoned the police. Because you never know if it is Jeremy Corbyn, do you? Pretending to be someone coming to read your meter as a threat to my family's security. But he's not done a lot, really, in a week. It's been quite quiet.
Well, I felt very sorry for him, because I thought he got all the way through school and all the way through his first job without anybody noticing that he didn't know the words to the national anthem. And now finally it's caught up with him. But what I want to know about respectful silence is, what would disrespectful silence look like? And how would we know whether the silence was respectful or not?
I'll do it for you now. It'll work well on the wireless. So a respectful silence is this, and a disrespectful silence is this.
For those of you listening at home, so it's the same but naked.
I think it's his first week. We have to remember this is his first week, so he will have to answer some questions about some stuff at some point. But I did enjoy journalists trying to get answers, and he simply walked away and said, "These people are annoying me." I enjoy that. I quite like the press losing their minds at this precise moment in time, because they don't know what to do with him.
So one of the...
Brilliant, isn't it? The press are so magnificently excited. They've gone so much off on one to start with. They've nowhere left to go, have they? By tomorrow it'll be Corbyn now plans women-only gravity. To float into space and they'll be late for work. Corbyn Laden plans to make all pets Muslims. We spoke to Vera, aged 81. She said, "It's not fair, my hamster doesn't like going east. I'm not in London." And then the hand are just amazing. He's not sung the anthem. That's all the efforts of the Second World War in ruins now. Otherwise we'll have Hitler here. It's all spoilt. He's literally gone up to every Spitfire and smeared dog mess over the cockpit. Literally what he's done.
I enjoy the fact that he turned up at Prime Minister's question. He had a wee suit on, bless him, that was the colour of kind of angel delight. It was
So you like the question? I like the thing of ringing round for questions and stuff. But I think it would work even better if he didn't sort them out beforehand, just had a big bucket and picked them out. Would the Prime Minister answer a question from Martha in Ipswich? Who would win in a fight between Godzilla and the Loch Ness Monster?
And he'd have to end up reading out spam. He'd be like, I have another email asking if you have any unwanted gold lying around the house.
Danny, have you had any personal dealings with him?
No, actually, it's interesting. Lucy Powell, whom was appointed to his shadow cabinet, has never met him. And she said during the leadership election, I've never met Jeremy Corbyn in the cafeteria or in the library. And even when he appointed her to the shadow cabinet, he did it by phone. So she turned up to the first shadow cabinet meeting as the shadow Secretary of State for Education, appointed by Jeremy Corbyn, and she'd never met him. And I
That's
certainly
fun,
haven't
it's
met
like a blind date. He's bringing sex back to the House of Commons. I'll get you the portcullis.
Well, on the thing of how many women were in the cabinet, I love the fact that the Sun newspaper was very angry about this and called it a terrible blunder and all that. And I think which is reasonable because the Sun, if it's known for nothing else, it's for its unrivalled, determined feminist stance. Every day, page 3 has got some Mexican feminist poet. People campaign for it to stop, but no, they insist. Yeah. Andrea Dworkin, Maya Angelou, they're all in there. So, of course, 16 out of 31, he promised half. So that's a different fraction from 16 out of 31, isn't it? He's already broken that promise.
You were at the thank you rally for him, were you, in Islington, Mark?
I was, yeah.
Because the greatest irony, they didn't let you vote because it was the first time you would have voted with the Conservatives, and they banned you.
Yes, exactly. No, they didn't. No, I did. I did try to register as a supporter during the Labour leadership campaign, and then I got a thing saying, "I'm sorry, you do not share the aims and values of the Labour Party." And I did want to write back and say, "I'm sorry, I've just been really busy. I haven't had time to invade Iraq," but I didn't. My problem may have been you're not allowed to be a member of another organisation, and I am actually a member of Riley's Snooker Club in Croydon.
But I enjoy this talk about the hard left and the soft left. I mean, I think there's room for I'd like there to be more types of left, I think, than the soft left, the sort of cushioned left, or the absorbent left, or the aloe vera infused left. What other lefts are there? Do write in. So, remarkably, this is the case of startled pensioner Jeremy Corbyn, who, after being elected leader of the Labour Party, let's face it, you can get people of that age to sign pretty much anything, went to the Battle of Britain service and forgot the words to God Save the Queen. There is speculation that Corbyn refused to sing God Save the Queen because he doesn't believe in God and is a Republican. Following this policy, Corbyn also refuses to sing Happy Birthday because there's no guarantee a birthday will be happy, and Yellow Submarine because he doesn't believe in his heart of hearts that is where the Beatles all live. Personally, I think that Corbyn was a fool not to sing the anthem, as if you don't save the Queen and then she shuts down unexpectedly, you'll have lost all your work. New Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn has hobbies which include making jam. Indeed, he's never happier than when he's preserving things. Strawberries, damson, the socio-economic order of common ownership. Try that one on a crumpet. Absolutely delicious. Anyway, I say, look, leave him alone. It's his first week. So what if he hasn't lived up to expectations yet? It's all a learning curve, and I think he'll probably be a lot more confident by episode 2. Mine was wandering for a moment there. Susan, 2 points. Danny, who did something in the House of Commons that made some other people in the House of Commons very unhappy?
Well, there was a debate on tax credits. It came from the budget, and it was the tax credit withdrawal rate being cut from £6,420 to £3,850. So that saved £4.4 billion, but quite a lot of people didn't like it very much. And it nearly lost, but in the end, the Labour Party was so distracted by Jeremy Corbyn forgetting the national anthem that it didn't actually get very much coverage. Although I say it wasn't that the media didn't cover it, it was we regard it as a respectful silence.
And the sort of cuts in tax credit, I mean, is it a good idea? I imagine your guys aren't in the business of making people's lives unendurably miserable for no good reason.
Correct. Brilliant. That is why they've chosen you to do the programme. Yes. So obviously it's part of a mix of policies, Miles, which goes together with the living wage and other policies for reforming welfare over time. But actually, in the end, the reason why it did get passed was partly because the Labour Party was distracted by other things and partly because the party thought there would be other policies in the longer term. So that's the reason why it was able to get through what people thought would be a rougher ride than it was.
Why is it necessary, do you think, for politicians to have to be present to vote? Couldn't they always get a vote? Why do they have to be there?
I think otherwise people wouldn't turn up at all and they would sort of phone it in from their car or something and they wouldn't have ever attended.
It'd be a bit more like the House of Lords.
You actually have to turn up in the House of Lords and walk through and then someone crosses your name off. And every time you do it, you think there must be a better way of doing this. But I suppose then no one would turn up at all. You wouldn't want that.
No, that would be an unimaginable future. What do you think about this, Mark? You in favour of this? Of any Conservative policy, in fact? I mean, in the name of balance. We can come back to the right in this question, then it'll be objective over the course of the evening.
This would be fantastic if question time was like this, wouldn't it? I'd love it. If you should go for Dimbleby's job.
Oh, yeah, this is one of a long list. Yeah.
No, it's a terrible thing. It's going to make poorer people poor. I mean, fair enough, of course, because this goes back to the crash and the debt and all that. And as we know, the people who caused the banking crisis were the poor, as we know. They were people who are now on tax credits, sort of single mums, people like that. They sort of change their kids' nappy, nip out, lose 20 billion on the currency markets. Come back to it's only right that now they're having, that it's being redressed to a certain extent. Because otherwise you'd have to take it off the bankers. I mean, they've got nothing left to so fair enough, yeah. Take more out of it. 4.4 billion. They've probably got that down the back of their cot.
What about this, the other bill, the trade union bill?
That's a piece of legislation to change the rules about trade union voting so that trade unions have to have a majority of 40% and 50% of people in the union in order to be able to pass a strike.
Susan, you a member of a trade union?
Yes. Yeah, that was quite a surprising question. Yeah. Yes.
I've gone rogue, Susan.
This is turned into so much.
Did you ever work for Mr. McCarthy?
I am a member of a trade union.
Let me put it another way. Would you be prepared to name other members of your profession who are members of a trade union?
Isn't it that you have to, like, for a picket line, you're going to have to give all the names of everybody who's going to be there in advance and stuff like that, and they're all going to have to wear special little clothes.
Because there's also that thing about tweeting. You have to tell the police 2 weeks in advance about any tweets you're going to... I mean, one of the things I always like about being involved in riots is those things that you just do on impulse.
You have to play. You have to go. Hello, is that the police? Yes, we'd like to give information that we are planning a riot in 2 weeks' time.
You're right, Miles. It's not really then a riot. It's just like a
It's not what we
party
do it
or
for, is
something,
it?
isn't
Not what we do it for.
Or you could get a job as a riot planner.
Come round to people's houses with a catalogue.
Yeah.
Here's one we
Oh,
can do
look
to you.
at those Molotov cocktails. They're not right at all.
That'd be
This is a
amazing.
foot locker. You could put your foot through the window of that. That would be absolutely perfect. Yeah, for a couple of Waitrose. We can get anything you like, really. It'd be fine. Thrillingly, this is the news that the Conservatives have responded to Jeremy Corbyn's election by passing a welfare bill, dropping the threshold at which tax credits are withdrawn from £6,420 to £3,850, which it's estimated will leave 3 million families worse off to the tune of over £1,000 a year. I think that's explained it all. Robert Peston does it all a lot more easily, doesn't he? And indeed sexily, some may feel. The cuts to tax credits will affect some of Britain's lowest paid workers, such as Jeremy Corbyn's media strategist, whose budget currently only stretches to a pager and 6 months' membership of LinkedIn, which is free. But I think with all this debate about workers' rights, we're in danger of forgetting the most important thing in any strike story, which is, of course, the struggle of a young boy who just wants to dance. 2 points to Danny. Mark, who's not hungry, I'm going to repeat that, who's not hungry for more migrants?
Serbia. I can spot a clue. Would it be one of those other sort of Central European countries? Let me pick one at random. Hungary.
Well, it sounds good.
Yeah, no, they've not been as liberal as they might be, have they? There's sort of people coming over from... They're probably outdoing Britain, really, in sort of meanness, in this sort of an attitude of like, oh, these people coming over here. They walk across Syria, flee across half of Asia, get in a boat, 250 of them, capsizes, then swim to Europe, then walk 400 miles, hiding from guards. Then we're supposed to look after these people who aren't prepared to make an effort. It's that, and Hungary have been quite cross, haven't they? They've put fences round the refugees, all manner of things. The sort of European attitude seems to be we should bomb Islamic State, as this is a most evil, dreadful organisation that has ever existed, and then when people flee from them, go, get back there, they can't be that bad.
It's a devastating and horrific situation. It's one of those tremendously powerless situations where I have no solutions. I don't know what to do, and it genuinely keeps me awake at night thinking, I don't know what I can do about this situation.
Well, ultimately, we've got hideous atrocities being committed, millions of people fleeing for their lives, a humanitarian catastrophe unfolding. I mean, do you think this is one of these things that will probably sort itself out?
Yeah, well, I agree with you about saying that it's a problem that you feel you haven't got a solution to. Both my parents are migrants, both of them are refugees to Britain, so you can't just look at it without thinking, well, we've got to take more people, we've got to do what we can, and at the same time realising that even if we did that, it wouldn't be enough, that you can never do enough to solve the situation, and that is a very frustrating feeling, that feeling humane and compassionate and wanting to do everything you can will not be enough. And you're quite right, Mark, saying bomb ISIS or bomb Assad, and do either of those things, you create even more refugees while you're trying to stop the situation. So almost everything that you do, you think that's going to make the situation probably worse rather than better.
Do you have a sort of an Australian perspective on our kind of inept response to this crisis?
Well, given our dreadful track record with refugees, you're behaving better than Australians, so congratulations, guys. Well done.
It's a great comfort. Staggeringly, this is the news that the Hungarian government has sealed its borders to stop any more refugees from getting into the country. Last week, a group of 40 migrants arrived at the Hungarian border to find it closed. Happily, they can be redirected to the UK, as 40 is exactly the number the government is prepared to allow in. Some people have said that immigrants should be allowed to stay in Buckingham Palace, although I'm not really sure they should be forced to live side by side with the Duke of Edinburgh, their natural predator. 2 points to Mark. Sarah, who's getting ready to put on their robes and loosen their ties?
Yes. Basically because there's a split between the liberal and the more conservative factions of the Anglican Church. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, is proposing to basically dissolve the international Anglican community. And so he summoned all the leaders of the national churches for a crisis meeting. And I don't know about you, but I love the idea of an emergency bishop meeting. The meeting is to decide their approach to the next Lambeth Conference, which is this once-in-a-decade gathering of the worldwide Anglican bishops, which is also the largest collection of silly hats, as it turns out. That's a very fantastic meeting, because, you wouldn't even bother with a PowerPoint presentation. You'd be like, I can't see because there's like 11 pointy hats in the way.
You think they have to wear them all the time?
Yes. In my imagination, yes.
Yeah, they should have to be in the bath, down the shops and stuff.
Have you ever seen one on the
tube?
tube?
Cinema. Oh, no. I was a bloody Anglican bishop in front of me. Mate.
But seriously, the big divide is over issues like female priests, same-sex relationships, and apparently many of the heads of the national Anglican churches are no longer even on speaking terms. I'd just love to see that. I'd love to see two bishops that are pissy with each other. I've never seen it. I've just never seen two bishops just give each other the cold shoulder, like, hi, Donald, don't you hello Donald me. I'm sorry, I was just saying hello, I'm just saying no. Don't speak like that, don't speak like that.
Well, that's how all religious wars start. That's
exactly.
I've seen it described as the biggest threat to the church since Charles Darwin. Do you know what newspaper that was, Danny?
That was ours, yes.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't probably me, because I'm still sort of working on being a Jew from Pinner. It's not probably my expert topic, I suppose. I'm still working on the idea of Jesus being Jewish. It's not that I can't understand the idea of a Jewish Messiah. It's just a Jewish carpenter I've got a problem with.
Same-sex marriage is really one of the major issues with the Anglican Church in terms of different parts of the world not wanting to let it happen. So, as I understand it, he's saying we'll all have kind of the same name-ish, but you can do what you like. I don't know if you know that in Kentucky Fried Chickens here, they don't sell mashed potato, but if you go to America, you can get mashed potato. So it's like the same thing. So it's like, it's the same brand, but when you go different places, you can get, like, different things. So I see the Anglican Church very much as Kentucky Fried Chicken, but just a bit more religious.
I cannot wait for you to be on stage at a synod, standing there with a bucket of fried chicken and some mashed potato, going, trust me, people, in 15 minutes you will know exactly what I'm talking about.
It's still the church, but what you could have is if you have the church in, like, Ghana, you can be against same-sex marriage, because the problem is Welby keeps fighting for them all to believe the same thing, but they don't. So he's saying, crack on, have your mashed potato. We won't have mashed potato.
Oh, okay. The one that I find astonishing is the change in gay marriage law encourages people to be gay. This is one of their arguments. And I think that can't be right, can it? I mean, since the law's changed, how many blokes have gone, I'm not gay, but I'm going to marry Stan over the road? I mean, it just seems a shame to waste a change in the law, don't you?
Well, he's trying to bring together, I mean, he's got, in the more conservative factions, there are people wanting to bring back the death penalty for same-sex relationships. And then, on the other hand, he's dealing with, in North America, where they've got, they're fine with same-sex marriage, they've got female priests. And I think the question, they said, is this like a divorce within the Anglican Church? And I think his quote was, it's more like sleeping in separate bedrooms. That's the way he's defined this kind of schism, which is sort of correct. I think what he means is it's more like sleeping in separate bedrooms in a house where some of the people in some of the bedrooms are being murdered for being gay.
Now that is an analogy.
So rapturously, this is the news that the Archbishop of Canterbury is planning to reform Anglicanism into a federated group of churches that are linked to the Church of England, but not necessarily each other. The Archbishop believes that the communion has become dysfunctional due to arguments over power and certain preferences. All 38 leaders, or what the Daily Mail would describe as a swarm, have been summoned to the Conference of Bishops next January, which one imagines, like all conferences, will involve a day of presentations, followed by the most almighty sexathon. But of course, what happens at the Bishops' Conference stays at the Bishops' Conference. Some of the heads of the Anglican Church have not spoken in over a decade, because one of them hasn't finished the final series of Friends yet. Doesn't want to know if Ross and Rachel get back together. Archbishop Welby sees his plans as a last throw of the dice to avert a permanent split. Oh, come on, don't put all your hopes on luck, Justin. Do something which gets results, like praying. 2 points to Sarah.
Thank you. It feels weird. It feels like every time you're announcing the score, there should be like a round of applause, and it's just like... It's too late for that now. Yeah. Because now it's like I'm fishing for it. But it just felt like there was this weird, disappointed silence. Did you feel that too? Like, you didn't know if you... I saw a few people go, I didn't want to start a round of...
Yeah, should there be? Maybe there shouldn't. I think it'd be better if
applause... It doesn't matter either way, just,
Well, what does? But yeah, I'll try and make the whole points thing less momentous. Although they are an absolutely integral part of the show. And at the end of round one, the scores are Susan and Danny have 4, and so too do Sarah and Mark. And we start round 2 with an extract from the Cyprus Mail.
A man has been accused of attempting to kill his wife by allegedly tying explosive material to his gate. His wife was injured by the explosion. She said in evidence that relations with her husband were not good.
Thank you to everyone for sending that in. Susan, have a listen to this. Susan, who's got the mettle, and I emphasise that word with good reason, to succeed in the job market?
It's a report which was published, one of these reports that's often published about things which don't necessarily matter, that said that by 2025, I think it was, a quarter of human jobs will be performed by robots. And it was a study about which jobs are most at risk. I don't know if you want to pay attention and see whether or not by 2025 you will be replaced by a robot. Anything creative, like writing or comedy, is safe, which is good. Anything with a caring aspect to it as well is absolutely safe. But data processing, things like that, you're going to be replaced by... If you're listening and that's the kind of thing you do, sorry, but you may as well give up. So what you need to ask yourself is, in terms of your job, do I put any thought into what I do for a living? And do I care about anyone as part of my job? If you don't, then... I don't know if you've watched Westworld or Terminator or Wall-E, but that's essentially what's going to happen to your life afterwards. And it's going to... Automation happens. That's what's going to happen. The computers have already... Anyone that's been to a supermarket... I mean, I miss the ladies with the flying fingers who used to calculate how much your shopping was. I don't use the self-service tills as a matter of principle because, well, I can't work them and often can't reach them. But they put the card machines very high, Miles. And it's quite embarrassing to ask for a piddy up. Yeah. It's what I think we all possibly knew, that robots are going to take over the world, apart from those of us who have a job which requires some form of thought process, such as the gift of laughter, which is what we as comedians give to all of you. And you're all very welcome, yeah?
You sound like someone pleading not to be shot by a robot. Is anyone frightened by
I bet there will be robot comics. There will be.
I think there already are.
Do you think a robot could be a journalist?
Basically, I can't get robots to take over my printer, so I think it's rather unlikely to take over the world.
If you could have a robot, if you could have a house robot that you could say, I need something printed, and it would print it for you without your Hewlett-Packard thing just sending you absolutely nuts.
Yeah. We don't need a robot that prints things. It's called a printer.
You can operate the printer, Susan. They're absolutely impossible.
Everything's impossible now. Robots have made things much harder. Miles harder. Every little thing.
Can't get a seat on the tube or bloody robot.
You can't do anything. All the new stuff that gets invented, does this make you sound old? You know, like my son, the telly, because I've got a telly, he's about 10 years old. Well, look at this thing, it's not even got HD flat screen something on it, and I think it's got pictures and a sound, that's enough, and I always, the television I would love someone to invent, if it was possible, and I'm not sure if the technology exists, that it's one where you would be able to turn it on and off with a knob that says on and off. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it? If they could do that one day, rather than go, hang on, it's behind... Oh, God, where's the thing? It's behind the curtains. Who left it? Hang on, that's the remote for finding the second remote.
The only problem with that is that when I was younger, people used to rent televisions. If you remember, in the old days, we would rent it for, like, I don't know, £5 a week. My mum would rent a television. And her reasoning was that you could always get it fixed, because people used to fix televisions as well. And it was so huge, this thing. It had a huge back, if you remember. It got really warm and it smelled kind of funny. That when they finally got a flat-screen television, we worked out my mother had spent £25,000 renting a television. But we had half a room no one knew existed. Because the television was so huge. It's like, oh my God, it's like we've got a conservatory or something.
We rented a TV.
Wooden doors, didn't they, on the telly? Do you remember the... Yeah,
we rented a TV at home and we...
This is Radio 4.
A guy come round to fix it, and my father kept saying to him, it's the tuning bar. And eventually, after my father had said that 3 times, he said to him, how do you know that? My father said, I'm a professor of audio-visual technology. So the guy goes, mend it yourself then, and walked out. It was the tuning bar, by the way.
Everything's like that, though, isn't it? A washing machine's got about 3,000 things on it. It's easier to just put it all in the bath and do it yourself.
I used to be in charge of the white goods department in Curry's Electrical Superstore. And genuinely, when you go and buy... This is just a tip for the audience. When you buy a washing machine, buy the lowest tech one you possibly can, because they're the ones that will continue to work. All the bells and whistles, unnecessary, and it will break within 6 months. You're all very welcome.
I got a round of applause. That piece of advice just got a round of applause.
It's Radio 4. They appreciate knowledge.
This is
adorable.
When this is edited, this is actually going to be an episode of You and Yours.
Fabulously, this is the news that according to a report by the Boston Consulting Group, a quarter of all jobs will be performed by robots by 2025. Faceless automatons devoid of any feeling and personality. So, as ever, TK Maxx are well ahead of the game. It's certainly worrying news. The proliferation of a robot workforce is, of course, what spelt the death knell for the car park barrier raising industry. When was the last time anyone saw a human bollard? There have also been stories about a few companies now developing sex robots. In fact, I hope Apple start making one, because that launch event with Tim Cook would be spectacular. Or a horribly aggressive and upsetting sight. Either way, a talking point. One of the companies developing a sex robot is called True Companion. Their chief executive, Douglas Hines, has defended its product, saying the physical act of sex will only be a small part of the time you spend with a sex robot. Because obviously there'll be garden centres, National Trust properties, going to the cinema to see a film which neither of you wanted to see, but nonetheless represents an accurate compromise between the two films you both actually wanted to see. Sitting on a sofa and taking it in turns to sigh. 2 points to Susan. Sarah, who's been causing a ruckus? And the next two words are crucial. Down under.
Yes. The extremely conservative Australian Prime Minister, well, no longer, Tony Abbott, has been booted out by his own party, and the Prime Minister is now Malcolm Turnbull. And I think it's a tragedy. I think it's not often that you get a leader of a country who refers to himself as the suppository of all wisdom. Just because I don't know what your level of familiarity is with Tony Abbott. I've brought just a couple of his quotes to give you an idea. So this is one of his quotes. On immigration, he said, Jesus knew that there was a place for everything, and it's not necessarily everyone's place to come to Australia. Jesus never said that. Jesus
He
never
did in the second book of Corinthians.
He did. He said, you know what, guys? Place for everything. There's a place for... That was my mum. That's what my mum says. And this was his quote on Indigenous Australians. There may not be a great job for them, but whatever there is, they just have to do it. And if it's picking up rubbish around the community, well, it just has to be done. And I'm pretty sure he's looking for work himself now. It's amazing. In Australia, we've had 5 prime ministers in 8 years. This is 5 for 8, which was coincidentally the Australians' batting score nearly every test this summer. We're consistent to a T, thank you.
Time and a place for everything, and mine is right here.
That's a good accent, that's really good.
I can do an Australian accent as well.
Oh, that's very good. That's quite... Yes, I like
it's
that.
Posh, isn't it? Do you want to get in my ute?
Yes, that sounds a bit like my mum, actually.
Is it?
That's a bit more like mum.
I'd love it if I was your mum in disguise. Spot on, isn't it?
What a reveal on radio that would be.
Yeah.
Hello, Sarah. Are you coming home at any point, or are you going to stay here illegally performing?
Any other voices you've got, Susan? We've been to a few places thus far.
Yes, sir. I can do South Africa, South Africa.
Do you know, I just realised that whole discussion we had about robots, in South Africa they call like the traffic signals robots, so they'll think the whole conversation is about traffic lights taking away their jobs.
I went to see Fiji play Guernsey at cricket last week. I did.
Someone's doing all right.
Yeah,
Don't have to be obnoxious about it,
Score,
Mark.
that is truly the most magnificent boast I've ever heard.
It was
Where was it?
Colchester. They were playing each other in the World Cricket... I would have thought as a cricket fan you would have known this, Miles. They were playing in the World Cricket 6th Division League. And I got chatting to 2 or 3 of the Fiji people, and they had like an accent that was like a very mild sort of South Africa. But it was... I just was fascinated by that, because it's the other direction, Fiji, isn't it? Mm. So where did that come from? Has
Where did
anybody
the Fijian accent come from? Fiji.
Yeah, I know it comes from Fiji.
I wish I'd seen it. Sadly, I was watching Swaziland versus the Faroe Islands in April. Strikingly, this is the news that Tony
I
Abbott
watched
has been...
snooker from Latvia the other day.
Strikingly, this is the news that Tony Abbott has been replaced as Prime Minister of Australia by Malcolm Turnbull after a fierce battle that one assumes originated in an argument over either a barbecue or how many tinnies the other could drink without barfing like a ruddy Sheila.
That's not true. It was over kangaroos.
Malcolm Turnbull is both Australian and a self-made millionaire, so doesn't he sound humble? But basically, what we're telling you is that a man you've never heard of and know nothing about has been replaced by another man you've never heard of and know nothing about. I'm painfully aware, however, there's probably an Australian news quiz going on right now where the panellists go on and on and on about how they've never heard of this Jeremy Corbyn larrikin in between belching.
I, for one, I've had an absolute gutful. We are not all like that, Miles.
Oh, wouldn't it be brilliant? An Australian news quiz. 2 points to you, Bruce.
2 points to Sarah. Mark, what time should the news at 10 be on?
Oh, yeah, well, they're rowing about it because it's on 10, isn't it? At the same time as the news at 10, whatever they call it, the ITV one. They're both on at 10. And so there's a sort of argument about whether one of them should move, which I suppose is reasonable enough because, there must be lots of people who then would be able to watch the news at 9:30 and then watch exactly the same news. Of course, in addition, there would be anything that might have happened between 9:30 and 10 that wouldn't have been in the first one. And then you can watch both. I don't know. So that's the idea. It doesn't really bother me that they're on at the same time. I wouldn't watch either because I'd be watching the curling from Rotterdam.
Who said that maybe the news at 10 shouldn't be on at 10?
It's the culture secretary.
It's
isn't
John
it?
Whittingdale.
Do you like Whittingdale, Danny?
Yeah, well, he asked this question, which I thought was really weird. Is it sensible that its main evening news bulletin goes out at the same time as ITV? And basically the answer to it was yes. So you shouldn't ask rhetorical questions to which the answer is yes. I think he meant the answer to be no. But I can't understand why anyone would want to watch the news twice. Basically, I do like John Whittingdale. I worked with him for quite a while and I thought he was a nice guy. But I don't think he's right about the news being at the same time.
And it's part of the point being that the BBC shouldn't be doing things that the competitors are doing, and they constantly go on about The Voice and the X Factor and everything else. And I plead with the government not to do anything to the BBC until I get on Strictly. Because I think if there's one thing that will persuade people that the licence fee is worth it, is me in a short dress and heels, because if nothing else, that will keep you entertained for a considerable period of time. If you imagine Rita McCranky in actual lady pose, that's what it's going to look like, doing the rumba.
I'm not sure this is the most robust defence of a beleaguered corporation. Well, I mean, I say that as a fan. Well, unsurprisingly, this is the latest BBC row, this time over the timing of the BBC's news at 10, and whether it should go out at the same time as ITV's news at 10, that time being, I'm sure this won't come as a shock to you, 10. It has been argued that the BBC shouldn't compete with commercial rivals at all. For example, The Voice shouldn't compete with the X Factor, Strictly shouldn't compete with Dancing on Ice, and the News Quiz shouldn't compete with Kiss FM's Drive Time show with Michael and Andrea. Before we reveal the all-important final scores, has anybody got a cutting they'd like to share? Susan?
I do. It's been sent in by Harry O'Sullivan, and it's from the BBC News website. A woman in her 80s fought off an attacker by squeezing his testicles, police have said. The man is described as white, about 5'8" tall, between 25 and 35, with tan skin and a young voice.
Danny?
Yes, also from the BBC website, sent in by lots of people. British ventriloquist Paul Zerdin has won America's Got Talent. The 43-year-old Londoner said he was, quote, totally speechless.
Sarah?
This was seen in the Hampshire Chronicle by Liz James, and it says, rare crockery to go under hammer.
Comrade Mark?
Graham Sutton sent this in. The following announcement, he says, from the Guard was heard on the train yesterday morning. We apologise for the overcrowding on this train. This is due to the previous train travelling from Salisbury to Waterloo having no driver.
Well, thank you. Let's take a look at the final scores. And Susan and Danny have 8, and so too do Sarah and Mark. Before we leave you, here is a cutting from the Handel House website sent in by Heather Tamala.
Due to building work taking place at the museum, there's no lift access or toilets, but visitors can use Handel's original staircase.
And with that, goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz with Susan Howman, Danny Finkelstein, Sarah Kendall and Mark Steele. The chair was Miles Jupp and the news was read by Mimi Sweet. The script was written by Max Davis, James Kettle and Tom Neenan, with additional material by Sarah Campbell and Robin Morgan. The producer was Richard Morris and it was a BBC radio comedy production.
We present the news quiz with your host, Miles Jupp.
Hello, and welcome to the news quiz. We start with an announcement from Wiltshire County Council, read by Diana Speed.
Due to the weather forecast, the training event planned for flood wardens has been postponed.
Thanks to Peter Williams and Marilyn Hunt for spotting that foolishness. Now, let's meet the teams. Will you welcome first on my right, Jeremy Hardy and Terry Christian. And opposite them on my left, Camilla Long and Rich Hall. Jeremy, who's been searching for the pennies?
This is to do with the fact that Google are registered as deceased for tax purposes. And they came up with a cosy deal with HMRC. I think HMRC, you'd think they'd have been toughened up by merging with the customs, wouldn't you? Because customs men wear tri-cornered hats and have flintlocks and burst their way into taverns and seize people's gold. But they just sort of had a meeting with Google and said, well, how much would you like to give us? And Google said, not much. And they said, that's fine, thank you. And then Cameron had to defend this in the Commons. It's been an emotional week for Cameron because in many ways Cecil Parkinson was the soundtrack to his youth. Cameron was jumpy, and there was a thing where they've lost a court judgment over the bedroom tax, and so they're a bit jumpy about the Google thing. So when challenged on this, Cameron went a bit weird and condemned Corbyn for meeting what he called a bunch of migrants, whom he contrasted with British people and hard-working taxpayers, making a distinction between British people and hard-working taxpayers.
Can I just defend Cameron for a minute? Because a bunch of is an improvement on a swarm of.
Well, that is true. That is true. But he knew it would get a reaction because it's called the dead cat strategy. And this was used very much by the Tory propagandist, recently ennobled Tory propagandist, Lord Crosby of Australiashire. What it is, if you're uncomfortable with a conversation, you drop a dead cat on the table. So you say something quite horrible that takes everyone's eyes off the fact that you're talking about tax avoidance, and you throw this sort of thing in. But then people defended Cameron, saying, well, I think people find it rather refreshing. Well, I mean, one talks about a bunch of tulips, doesn't one? But rarely do you say it to stigmatise tulips and keep them out of the country.
But I thought George Osborne, I felt a bit sorry for him because he got 130 million quid, didn't he? Wanted to brag about it, and yet it's just a bit of money down the back of the sofa to Google. But I wonder if they said to him, look, George, 130 million quid, or else anyone who puts your name in our search engine, it's going to be that photograph of you with a rolled up fiver and that mound of what is obviously plain flour.
He was innocently trying to cover up the prostitute's buttocks to spare her embarrassment.
What I loved was the absolute thrill on George Osborne's face when he gave his soundbite about extracting this tiny amount of tax from Google. Labour politicians complaining about it is a bit rich.
There was this debate as to whether Cameron meant to say this or it slipped out, but either way it's not good. I mean, it doesn't matter whether you plan to say something hateful and bigoted or you would plan to say something charming and dashing, but your hateful bigotry just willed out because you were feeling a bit flustered.
I might be on the other side of the fence here, but I don't believe Google should pay any taxes. Why? I will tell you why. Because Google is magic. Remember, we used to have yellow pages, right? That's yellow pages. They're gone. And they were fantastic. If you needed information, you went to the yellow pages. If you needed information from a person in an interrogation room, you hit them with the yellow pages. The font of information. And it would show up magically twice, 3 times. This is the magic yellow pages. We don't know where they came from. We don't know how they got there. We don't know if they made money. But if someone had said to you, hey, the yellow pages aren't paying their taxes, you would have gone, I will file that under my give a shit is broken. We don't care. And then there were libraries. And you went there and there was tons of you never questioned how do they make 70p for a late book? How does this place stay in business? And if someone said the library's not paying taxes, you would have gone, I don't care. Those are gone because of Google. But has anybody here ever got a bill from Google? I don't know how they make their money. I don't care, but they are magic, and I do not question magic, and you do not pay tax. If your child puts a tooth under the pillow and gets money, that is magic. Do you tax that? That is magic, and Google is, I don't know what it does, it's just there, and it's magic, and no.
It is a form of sorcery, isn't it, Rich? We should be much more grateful to these people than we are, I suspect. How much tax should they have paid, unless you're Rich Hall and you think that they should be rewarded for their relentless sorcery? And
I think Rich is being facetious, actually.
Oh, really?
I think that yeah.
I'm sorry, I assumed he'd come on here to just speak the God's honest truth, Camilla. Has anyone ever Googled anything? I guess not. I think it's quite nice that it can get to a level HMRC. You know, they're able to say, well, can we pay this much? You know, people like you and I, we're asked to pay a certain amount and we pay. If you get to a certain level of richness, you can just sort of haggle with the HMRC, which I think brings a charming sort of taste of the souk to the whole thing.
Actually, I mean, why can't we just seize their... I mean, because the HMRC can just go into your bank account, can't they? Why can't the government just take the money off Google?
Well,
at the point of the bayonet. Why can't they do that? Because it's in America. It's hidden in Bermuda or something.
I'll have to come back to you on that, Jeremy. I've got literally no idea why they can't storm anywhere.
Isn't Bermuda still ours? Have we let it go? Damn.
Does anyone know any of the answers to any of Jeremy's questions?
Aren't they based in... Well, I think their European stuff is based in Ireland, isn't it?
Yes,
I think they do have... They have lots of offices everywhere. That's why it's so confusing.
I think we could Google this and find out.
Inscrutably, this is the tax deal with Google, announced this week by Chancellor of the Exchequer and smirking high-vis fetishist George Osborne. Google will pay only £130 million to cover 10 years of back taxes, which might suggest they've been let off. But I like to think the government's simply rewarding initiative, or in this case, really, really rewarding initiative. The reason for the relatively low UK tax figure is that Google claims to have no fixed base here, in which case I presume the offices of Google London at 76 and 123 Buckingham Palace Road, or indeed their offices at numbers 1 to 13 St Giles High Street, or their Manchester office in Peterhouse, Oxford Street, are all currently empty and you could all just turn up and squat the ruddy shit out of them. George Osborne called the settlement a major success, in much the same way that Neville Chamberlain did when he came back from Germany with that lovely bit of paper. Italy is taking a much tougher stance than the UK have done and are hoping to receive 15% of Google's revenues in their country. This is Italy we're talking about, a country which is only one more financial crisis away from having their economy run by the Dolmio puppets. 2 points to Jeremy. Terry, which bands have been disbanded?
Ah, right, yeah, this is the Red or Scarlet bands in Cardiff. And, of course, these bands have been given out to refugees. And, of course, everybody's kicked up and said, it's like Nazi Germany. They give them the red wristbands, and then, you know, the kind of targets for bigots are us, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just sort of draws attention.
Yeah, it's a bit like an all-inclusive holiday with added abuse. You see, I know people made a big fuss over it. I just thought it was a bit of a stupid thing to do. You know, bad taste, probably a lot cheaper than giving them identity cards. But then I thought, Madonna and Gwyneth Paltrow, they've also got red bands, haven't they?
Yeah.
All to do with that sort of Kabbalah drivel, you know. So, but I would hope that they don't get any verbal abuse for their
I hope that they do.
I was being a bit sarcastic there. You're losing the irony there, Joe.
Sorry. We don't do that down here.
I mean, but what would they say?
They would be forced to eat 3 meals a day, which might be a frightening experience for them, I suppose.
People kept saying, well, you have to wear a tag to go to Glastonbury, and you think, yeah, and that's like saying, well, I mean, what's wrong with refugee camps? I mean, people at Glastonbury have to live in unsanitary conditions in tents. Yeah, only for 3 days, and they sober up and do a presentation on Tuesday morning.
But again, we were doing the red doors. Everyone was getting stick about the red doors as well, weren't they, the other week?
I think the red doors are awful.
Well, I know. Well,
I have to say,
already written a letter.
I see it as a completely different thing from the wristbands. That was just stupidity.
I've already written a letter and asked them to change them all to purple. No, actually, I grew up in a council house, and what they do there is every second house, one would be blue, then it'd be yellow. We had a yellow one, then it'd be blue, and every 4 years they come round and paint them. Nobody ever investigated this, but they actually used to nick all the spare blue and yellow paint and then make green paint. No, seriously, no, mate, I used to do that, and then they go, to do your house as a private job, and if you said, I want it painted black or I want it painted white, they say, well, I tell you what's in at the moment, love, holly green.
About tagging people is you can't. Things a bit more loaded, aren't they? When you've fled a dictatorship, officialdom, is not seen as a benign thing. So if someone says you have to wear this now, you're sort of thinking
it's like Nazi Germany.
You're thinking it's like Nazi Germany.
I've noticed this a lot lately. People jump right to the Hitler card. Like they say, oh, you're playing the Hitler card, like first round. Like there's some gradations between painting a door red and saying this is like Nazi Germany.
We do have this fixation, don't we, in the UK of like getting a bit all World War II about everything. If it's queuing at Wimbledon, it's like Dunkirk. Sort of waiting by the Thames for the Royal Flotilla. It's like the Blitz Spirit because it's raining.
Trying to get on a ferry, it's like Dover. People in Dover are really paranoid about the refugees in Calais. And do you know what? They want to come here. They want to come here. All 6,000 of them, they want to come here. I think, no, don't flatter yourselves, Dover. They want to go through you.
Wait a minute. So do we get an extra point for that? Do we not get an extra point for that?
Terry, that was an act of aggression.
We want to win this quiz. It's like the Battle of Stalingrad, this quiz, isn't it?
I don't think anyone has ever come on this programme and cared about the points, Terry. This is... In many ways, you represent new territory for me. Accursedly, this was the plight of asylum seekers in Cardiff who were required to wear red wristbands in order to receive food. The firm responsible said that the wristbands were never meant to discriminate, merely a stopgap solution while the branding iron was away for repairs. The biggest problem for the asylum seekers was that when wearing the wristbands, they were frequently mistaken for supporters of the Labour Party. After a lifetime of brutal persecution, this for many was the final indignity. When you see someone with a red wristband, you know they're not to be trusted, said a proud Indigenous resident of Cardiff, resplendent in his traditional electronic tag. 2 points to Terry. Rich, which bunch of cowboys finally met their not-okay corral?
Somewhere in the nether regions of Oregon, and not the cool part of Oregon that we all think of, where Nike is on the coast. Out in the desert, there is a lot of federal land, and this is given over to grazing to ranchers, and they in turn are supposed to pay some taxes. Pay some taxes, not like Google. They're supposed to pay taxes on the money that they make from raising cows. And you have a group of militiamen who aren't even from that area who just decided to show up at this wildlife refuge center and claim that they shouldn't have to pay any taxes. And this has resulted in an armed standoff in that American way of we got some guns and we have the right to form a militia according to the Constitution, and never, ever realizing that if the government wants to It's just, they will. Oh, you've got a couple of guns. Well, they have tanks. And death beams. Lasers and drones. And, you're a couple of cowboys with your... So, it never works. So now one of them's dead, and another one has been shot.
When they're asking for land reform, then, by land reform, do they mean we should be allowed to use this land without paying tax? Is that all land reform means in this?
It's a symbol for just the fact that they hate the government. They hate the government. I should say government. Govment, because every one of these guys spells the government. The government's coming and take it. The government can take my dead prying fingers around and because Americans just love guns. And that's what it's about. It's about to stand there with a gun, which gives you a hard on and makes you feel important, and then say, well, somebody's going to try and take my stuff. They're going to take my... Well, buy a lock. I have over 300,000 used tires in my barn. Why? It's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. That's why. I will shoot. We just, the Constitution was written 270 years ago. It was, it didn't have anything to do with modern day arms. It was muskets. It was, if somebody was coming after you, it was, hey, what, back up. And pour powder in, then put the thing down, wadding, and then put that rod in it, and then, he's gone. So, to do with, modern day armaments. And there's something about Americans, God bless them, that they just love guns. Love them, because it makes them happy. Makes them happy. Guns make Americans happy. It's important to keep Americans happy because they have guns. You put it any other way, and the cowboy image is dying. It's dead. If you don't believe it, watch me leave the studio tonight and walk down the street and just attract a lot of gay men. That's all. I should point out I'm wearing a vest and a cowboy hat because I thought this was a TV show. So, made the effort more than I can say for you people. But I didn't realize. And nothing is going to be, it's not going to change, but there's these guys who just, they watched way too many Westerns and they still think they're valid.
Is there any aspect of the lifestyle that you buy into? Do you have a ranch or anything?
Yes. But it's mine, it's not government land, is it? It's my land.
But you don't keep a gun on your ranch?
Do I keep a gun?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not, just a .22 rifle. Come on. We've all shot at each other with those things, right? My neighbor has an AK-47. My next door neighbor has an AK, wants to go duck hunting. Knocks on my door. Wants to go duck hunting with an AK-47. I said, how many ducks are coming at us?
It's all very keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it?
Yeah. And we're done. Let's go home. AK-47. I'm going to bring a loaf of bread. You bring that AK-47. Let's see who captures more ducks.
The American fairgrounds are fun, though. Because people must surely bring their own guns. Instead of you get given some stupid little air rifle with the sight all twisted so you can't hit the tin cans. A couple of ranchers just turn up with M16 rifles and a bazooka and just take the place out.
Vicariously, this is the standoff in the state of Oregon, where an armed siege was organised to protest at land reform following the jailing of 2 ranchers. The militia occupied the refuge on the 2nd of January after yet another hastily made and easily regretted New Year's resolution. This week, one of the leaders of the protest was arrested while leaving the refuge to get supplies, which seems very necessary. You can hardly expect armed ranchers in a wildlife refuge to simply live off the land. Still, let's hope this doesn't lead to copycat incidents. The last thing we want is Nigel Farage sending a message to Brussels by squatting in a rare breeds farm. 2 points to Rich. And at the end of round 1, the scores are Jeremy and Terry have 6, and Camilla and Rich have 7. Go! We start round 2 with a recipe suggestion from Woman's Hour.
For the smoothest cashew cheese, Be sure to soak your nuts overnight in filtered water.
Thanks to Simon Maloney for trawling the internet to find that soothing advice. Jeremy, who's been sent to Coventry for snooping around Coventry?
The Babylon Den. The Rothers, officers of the law in Cove, have been tweeting. I mean, they're on Twitter. I don't know who follows the police on Twitter. You have to be an incredibly law-abiding person, think like that, to follow your local constabulary. But they tweet, and they've been just going into people's homes to show how feeble their security is. A bit like an uncle who punches you in the stomach to teach you to keep your guard up all the time. You know, they just been letting themselves in and tweet it. Maybe it's a thing because I know it's not the north, but it's north of here now. This is where we're broadcasting from. It might surprise you to know, England, that this is the southeast. And my in-laws are I'm not married to my partner, so they're sort of common law. They're quite common. One's from Birmingham and one's from Yorkshire, and they both will just walk into your house without knocking. And maybe it's just a northern thing that people do. And because people assume that if you shout cooey, it's not trespass.
Coventry's not the north, is it?
It's north of here. No, it's the Midlands.
Right.
It's the West Midlands. It's the West Midlands. But it's just this idea that you can just walk in. My mum used to leave the back door unlocked in our house, and people would just walk in and shout cooey, and it was considered acceptable, and I never thought it was.
Were they people she knew?
Usually, yeah. You might be naked, you might be doing something you shouldn't be doing. People shouldn't just walk in, certainly not the police. They're supposed to know about the law of trespass and stuff like that. They're not supposed to, oh, that glass looks a bit thin. Oh, look how easy it is to put a wheelie bin through that glass. Oh, look, this old lady looks a bit vulnerable sitting there. Look how easy it is to drag her to the floor and force her to tell us where her jewellery's kept. You've got stronger old people than this if you don't want their jewellery taken away from them. So the police in Coventry just break into your house and then tweet a picture of them doing what burglars defecating on the. Look how easy it is to get this stereo out and put it and drive it back to the station and sell it. And then they punish, but you know they're not allowed to, are they? I don't think. I mean, I know customs can walk into your house. Customs have more power than even traffic wardens, customs men. But I don't think the police are allowed to just walk into your home.
I think they need a warrant.
They need to be invited, like bailiffs and vampires. They need to be invited into your home.
If you discover one of them, who does the arresting?
Very good point. You could conduct a citizen's arrest.
Big loophole here.
Exactly.
You could actually say, I'm going to arrest you.
And how do I know that you're really a police officer and not a stripper?
How many people in Coventry do you imagine were following the Coventry Police Twitter feed prior to this?
Presumably criminals are following them so they can know where they are and break into all the houses.
Oh yeah, because sometimes on tweets people put like a sort of location pin, can't they? They can be making it. God, they can be making it incredibly easy for people as well.
They don't work anyway, those things. Everyone kept asking me last week, why are you in Somerset? I thought, I'm in Stockport.
Were you going into people's houses, Terry?
Never.
It's quite an extraordinary... To see it in Twitter or in the flesh. I thought that Terry Christian is for some reason in my living room. Jeremy was making suggestions that people in the north are more relaxed. Terry?
Yeah, well, Jeremy thinks it's all right to have a dig at people in the north all the time, doesn't he?
Only my mother-in-law.
It's a form of racism. It's disgraceful.
It was just suggested that people were slightly more relaxed about their back doors.
When I was a exactly. When I was a kid, my mum always said to me, the streets of London are paved with bastards.
It's true, we do bury them.
And down here they tell you anything, don't they? I remember, like, first time I met a lad from London, he was telling me they had trains that go under the ground and all sorts of stuff.
You shouldn't have to lock your door. Sometimes you might want to nip around the shop and not have to take your keys or lock up, and you might just leave the door open. You should be allowed to do. I mean, it shouldn't be a presumption that just because your house isn't hermetically sealed, that you're fair game, and you're no better than you ought to be, and you're well up for it. Just because you've left the door on the latch, you might just be going out to get a paper. Or get something out of the car.
I'm going to say something quite unsexy, but that would probably invalidate your home and contents policy.
Like they're ever going to pay out anyway. Oh, so you were outside the house. And where was this holiday? In another country. So you left the house and you went to another country. Afraid you're not covered for that. And you're asthmatic. Oh, dear. Oh, you should have declared that.
In some of the tweets, they were sort of explaining their procedure, and they said they would sort of try the windows, and then they said that they would shout for occupants as well. So not only are they invading your home, but they're sort of shouting at you from outside your home in the manner of a proper raid.
In a Coventry accent.
Yeah.
Get on the floor, it's a ride.
We like that, yes.
Rich, have you ever experienced anything like this?
Yeah, I remember when I was with NWA and we were just trying to record an album and the police just came right in and made us all lie down with our hands behind us. And I remember saying to Eazy-E, I said, we need to write a song about this. They could have spun it a different way. Why can't the police say, look, this town is so crime-free that we can walk into any house and just, there's no crime going on. You can leave your doors unlocked because that is a sign of friendliness. That is a sign of if it's friendlier up north, you know, where I live in Montana, people like, why this town, there is very little crime in my town, and people will, oh, you can take your stuff and put it out on the front lawn at night, and it'll be there in the morning. And so we do that. Every night, we take all our belongings and put them out on the front lawn. But nobody wants anything in Montana. Who wants antler furniture? NASCAR bobbleheaded dog. And I imagine Coventry, I've been to Coventry, and you know what? There's nothing there I want. Not a thing.
Impishly, these are the antics, and there's no other word for them, of police in Coventry who have been walking into people's unlocked houses, taking pictures of themselves, and then tweeting the results. Amazing to think that there's someone who would be worse at presenting through the keyhole than Keith Lemon. Whatever he is. This is a break from standard police procedure. Normally, if police want to enter a household, they have to go through the more rigorous process of posing as an anarchist, staying for 3 years, and fathering a child. Following the success of this venture, the next day the police showed everyone how easy it is to hotwire a car and round raid a branch of Curry's. Then the day after, they demonstrated how to dispose of a corpse using just some old carpeting, some quicklime, and a disused quarry. And, of course, our old friend Gravity. Anyway, if you are a burglar listening on a set that someone has left on for safety, make sure you're dressed up as a police officer and do remember to tweet what you're up to. 2 points to Jeremy. To look for a prize.
The lottery ticket, isn't it? The missing millions that they've now found the real owner of, the right ticket.
Have they found them now?
Yeah.
Oh,
They found the real person, which has sort of spoiled it a bit for me because... And it's not that I'm kind of a bit bent, but, you know, obviously, where we're from, there's a sort of Robin Hood aspect about fraudsters. It's a victimless crime, isn't it? If they can't look in your eye as you take it. So basically, there was the old grandma. No, there was the old grandma, wasn't there, who had the numbers. But somehow she'd put it in the wash, a lottery ticket, and it had all sort of come off. It was almost like, so it was an image, wasn't it, that she'd kind of got of the actual winning lottery ticket, but without the barcode, without the date.
But it did have the winning numbers.
It had the winning numbers. It was a kind of lottery ticket Turing shroud. You know? But my favourite one was when the old grandma got confronted, didn't she, about her forged ticket. And I loved the response when it was suggested that it was a forgery. And I've written it down so I can give it you verbatim. And she said, "Why would I make it up?" Why, indeed.
Didn't they discover that she was then sort of she'd been caught doing practically the same thing with a scratch card, pretending that she'd got £200 on a scratch card, but she dropped it in a puddle. And oh look, the last scratch card bit has been obscured, but it's real.
Worth a punt.
Yeah.
You could counterfeit money, couldn't you? Just, I just dropped it in some bleach. I know it just looks like paper, but that was a 20.
And I've drawn it on with my
Yeah, I've drawn it
pencil.
on, obviously. It'd be disrespectful to the Queen not to have a go.
I've never bought a lottery ticket, but I met a man once named Liam O'Malley. He was a 4'11", freckled Irish Elvis impersonator. And
Did he give you 3 wishes?
Yeah. And he used to buy the scratch-off tickets, and this is amazing advice. He says, I always scratch off 5 of the numbers, and I never scratch off the 6th one. I always just throw the ticket in the bin. And I said, why? He said, well, what if those first 5 numbers match? That's, already a miracle. There's no chance in the world that the 6th number is going to match. I'm not going to win, but it's the what if. I'd rather walk around and think, what if I had won? Because I know I'm not going to win. But what if? Because what if is what fuels writing and art and love and dreams is what if. What if is what keeps us going. And what if is far more important than a winning lottery ticket. It does fuel people's dreams in the most perverse way because, you're not going to win. You are not going to win. More people buy lottery tickets than vote. If you want to change your life, vote. That's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever... Stop clapping!
We tried voting. That's why we do the lottery.
Randomly, this is the shock news that if you announce that you have 33 million in unclaimed lottery winnings, 1 or 2 people may come forward to try and claim it. Camelot said that the prize has now been legally claimed, but this did not stop hundreds of people going after the money earlier this week on the entirely reasonable and very sensible grounds that they had heard about it. One woman in Worcester, who claimed to have won the jackpot, had been inviting people into her home to have a look at a photo of her ticket. I think what we can gather from this is that Worcester is in desperate need of a good museum. 2 points to Terry. Camilla, have a listen to this.
Yep, rabbit, yep, rabbit, bunny, jabber, rabbit, yep, rabbit, bunny, rabbit, jabber, rabbit, yep, rabbit, bunny, jabber, rabbit.
Christ. Camilla, who's pulled an old rabbit out of the hat to add to the kitty?
I think this is the Beatrix Potter story, isn't it? The lost 100-year-old tale, which has been found in an archive somewhere all of a sudden and is going to be delivered to all the hot little hands in the country at some point soon. And it's this... It's almost exactly the same as everything else that she's written. It's called... Sorry. I think it is... There's a slight twist. It's called Kitty and Boots. It's about a well-behaved cat who leads a double life. And this cat has a sort of gentleman's jacket and some boots as well.
I thought you meant it worked in boots.
No, I think it's got Peter Rabbit in it. And it's got Mrs. Tiggy Winkle and...
Champion the Wonder Horse?
No, just the Beatrix Potter characters, actually. I think it's sort of a bit like a kind of Expendables of Roadkill, essentially.
And this year, it's an extraordinary coincidence, but this year happens to mark the 150th anniversary of Potter's birth. So it's extraordinarily lucky that a book like this should suddenly be found.
I've actually been to a house.
A house?
Well, her house. Oh. See, in the Lake District, in Coventry with the police. No, it's in the Lake. Is it called Hilltop House or something in the Lake District? And I tell you, I mean, I never really got on with all of this stuff, but it's all Japanese there. They absolutely love Beatrix Potter. You know, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, Peter Rabbit, and all the other lovely animals, and read them avidly.
Can I consult with my colleague on this?
Absolutely.
Who the hell is Beatrix Potter?
She was a very, very well-loved English children's author who wrote very well-loved, sensible stories about talking animals being mutilated.
Sort of our equivalent of the novels of John Steinbeck. Or
Basically, Beatrix Potter and Dennis Potter got married and had Harry Potter, and that's where English film was born.
Is she the one they found buried under the car park in Leicester?
That's right. That's right. She was reburied live on television in a very confusing ceremony. Sumptuously, this is the arrival of a previously unpublished children's story by the much-loved Beatrix Potter. It's being published to tie in with the 150th anniversary of Potter's death, which is a touching move. And what better way to celebrate someone's birth than to rifle through their stuff in a cynical attempt to make money? Anyway, I won't be reading it like all Beatrix Potter books. I'll just sit back and wait for the plate to come out. 2 points to Camilla. Rich, who's all at sea?
This is the story of 2 sailors who have been rescued for the 9th time this week. I need to start this story by telling you that a bucket list is a fine thing. We all need a bucket list, but if your bucket list consists of getting in a boat in Norway and trying to float to America and being rescued by the Coast Guard, at some point you've got to look at your nautical skills and just say, why didn't we just go see the Northern Lights and be done with it? Because these clowns have been rescued, I think, 8-9 times by the Coast Guard. They made it to Cornwall, and then their boat caught on fire on land. On land. They docked it. The tide went out. They didn't see that one coming, and flipped over. They had a candle. Because, a modern navigational aid, a candle, which apparently moss grows on one side of it. You can see what direction you're heading in. And the candle set the boat on fire, and the fire brigade came out and put the boat out. And then the guy said, "Oh, we're fine. We made it all the way from Norway to Cornwall with only being rescued 9 times. So it should be pretty smooth sailing across the Atlantic. And they should not be doing what they're doing. The Coast Guard has more important things to do."
Yes. It does seem like the sort of thing, if it was a film, you'd think, what a charming idea, sort of 2 old chaps going around Britain and think, but actually, as it's actually happening, you think, no, this has got to stop.
I think
they're just a couple of nice old guys who are at the end of their life and thought, oh, what could go wrong? I think it's cute because, why is everything dominated by people who are good at stuff? Well, they say, I run 4K for Hair Follicle Awareness Day. And you think, yeah, but you're good at it. So where's the challenge in that? You've trained, haven't you? You've trained to do the marathon. You know you could do it. You wouldn't do the marathon if you hadn't trained, were highly asthmatic and had never got out of bed in your life. It's because you've trained for months and been on a special diet and got fit. I think it's nice. Complete idiots who have no idea what they're doing. But have a go. Isn't that what made this country great?
Do you think it's fun to watch people that aren't good at something attempting it?
Yes! Who wants to watch experts do something? It's like,
These are the sort of sports rights that the BBC could obtain, actually, couldn't it? The BBC won a 50-year contract to exclusively screen shit cricket or people who cannot play football.
I think there's a difference between being not expert and actually not knowing one end of a boat from the other. Not actually even being able to get on the boat or stay on it. Or
that's the case, you should be in a canoe.
Yeah.
Lifeboatmen are all volunteers, so unless you go out and get into masses of trouble in a storm, they just got to carry on doing their job. Whereas if you go out and get into loads of trouble, they get to leave work and run out, and it's all very exciting. Have you seen a lifeboat being launched? It's fantastic. It looks really exciting. And they're all made out of bottle tops that people sent into Blue Peter. In the 60s. It's great.
I love the fact that the boat was called Nora.
Aww.
Mesa, flaming Nora, obviously.
Terry, have you ever seen anything like this?
Last of the summer wine, I think.
Quixotically, this is the nautical yarn of 2 sailors in their 70s who have had to be rescued by the RNLI 9 times in the last 7 months. And I clearly use the word sailors here incredibly loosely. In their latest escapade, the boat tipped over in Cornwall, causing a candle to fall and set fire to their clothes. One of the sailors said they'd failed to blow the candle out properly. I don't know about you, but I probably wouldn't try to sail from Norway to America if I wasn't confident in my abilities to, at the very least, blow a candle out properly. If women and children can cross the Mediterranean on a makeshift raft, while these guys are unable to leave the coast of Britain in a 40-foot yacht, perhaps there's more to being a migrant than David Cameron would have us believe. Don't know if the pair are News Quiz fans, but hello guys, if you're listening during the brief period before your accidentally buttered hands drop the radio out of a porthole. Anyway, a light-hearted and entertaining story that I'm sure will be just as funny, even if they drown before the Saturday repeat. 2 points to Rich. Before we reveal the final scores, has anybody got a cutting they'd like to share? Terry.
Yeah, this is sent in by John Pryor. It's from the St. Ives Times and Echo. And the headline was Sewage Back in the Spotlight. St. Ives' ongoing battle against sewage was back on the agenda last night as local councillors sat around to decide where to go next.
Camilla.
Oh, yes, this is something sent in by Julian Clark in Plymouth, and it's an offer for a boudoir photo shoot with a makeover. Models can show off their sexy side with a photo shoot experience and receive 2 prints, one of them mounted. I have no idea what that means.
Baffling. Rich.
This is a report from CNN, sent in by Paul Tiddensor. According to a senior park official at the Wangi National Park in Zimbabwe, Cecil the lion's brother, Jericho, who is also a lion, yeah, enjoy yourselves, because now it gets tragic, was killed on Saturday. Killed in a drive-by, actually. I think it's gang-related.
Thank you. And now let's take a look at the final score. Jeremy and Terry have 11, but Camilla and Rich have 12. Before we leave you, here is a story from the Hull Daily Mail sent in by Neil Armitage.
Businesses along Hull Marina are suffering because of ongoing regeneration works. It'll be months or even a year until we're properly open for business again, the pub owner said. All of us at the marina are in the same boat.
And with that, goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz were Jeremy Hardy, Terry Christian, Camilla Long and Rich Hall. In the chair was Miles Jupp and the news was read by me, Diana Speed. The chair's script was written by Gareth Gwynn, James Kettle and Simon Littlefield, with additional material by Liam Byrne and Kiri Pritchard McLean. The producer was Richard Morris and it was a BBC Radio comedy production. We present the news quiz with your host, Miles Jupp.
Hello, and welcome to the news quiz. We start with some words from the Evening Standard, read by Diana Speed.
Hundreds of people are seeking help with anger management every day as commuters implode with fury amid the stresses of getting from A to B. The British Association of Anger Management said its website was getting up to 500 hits a day.
Our thanks to Lawrence McNamara for sending that in. Now, let's meet the teams. Will you welcome first, on my right, Mark Steele and Zoe Lyons. And opposite them, on my left, Katie Brand and Michael Deacon. So, Mark, who didn't impress the press?
This will be the story about Donald Trump and his very peculiar press conference. This latest allegations, whether they are allegations, or people going, oh, it's going to finish him, the sort of various liberal people who think, oh, that's got to be the end of it, but it won't be. It just, the whole thing is just too, I mean, I'm still shocked from him getting in. I just thought, there's going to be one of these every few months now, one of these nights where you think, oh no, it'll be all right. And then this year, at some point, there will be a referendum on whether we should all have a red hot poker up the backside. And all the opinion polls will show that not a single person in the country thinks we should have a red hot poker up the backside. And on the night of the referendum at 2 a.m, Dimbleby will be going, well, what a shock. I mean, who could possibly have expected this? It's come in from Worcester. Look at that, 88%. So we all should have a red hot poker up the backside. What do you make of that, Paddy Ashdown? The only... Actually, I'll tell you what, I did write down. This is the sort of rambling nonsense. I know I'm in no place to throw particular stones in that glass house, but this is one bit that he said, asked about who's going to pay for the wall then, this famous Mexican wall. Mexico, in some form, and there are many different forms, will reimburse us whether it's a payment, probably less likely that it's a payment.
This is the only possible solution, I think, is that while he's building his wall along the border with Mexico, we get the Canadians to sneakily build another wall on their border, then we all chip in to build a roof and lock the bastards in.
So what are the different allegations that were in this dossier that perhaps shouldn't have been released? But
It's been suggested that he paid Russian prostitutes to urinate on a bed that Obama had slept in the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow. And his answer to that was, it's a total lie, it's total false news, it's a complete lie. And anyway, I'm a germaphobe, which I think a lot of his supporters will misunderstand and will now boycott Bratwurst and Lederhosen.
Do you know what he said in an interview in 2015? He said
no.
he was not a germaphobe. Okay, so some recent experience has changed him, clearly.
They did say, didn't they, the strongest critic of Donald Trump is Donald Trump 2 years ago. You just look at Twitter timeline. But the thing about all the prostitutes and the urinating on the bed, it's sort of quite fun, isn't it? It's a sort of fun, salacious, tabloidy thing. And then when you
sort
read...
of hazy smokescreen.
Yeah, when you read other bits of it, there's kind of all these more sinister things about how, you know, the Russians wanted him to downplay NATO and make sure that people weren't so bothered about Crimea and Ukraine. And when you look back at the exact timeline of when all of these things were supposed to have happened, you see that that's exactly when he started saying these sorts of things. So it's kind of, it is really sinister. I like a sort of prostitute weeing on the bed story as much as the next man, but there's some, I do. but there's some really genuinely sinister stuff going on.
I thought that the most unnerving moment of that press conference was when he was saying that actually it's fine, he's very, very wary about spying. He always tells his people to be careful what they get up to in hotel rooms because there are bound to be little hidden cameras filming everything they do, and that'll end up on TV. And I found that quite worrying, coming from a TV executive who owns lots of hotels. People, they talk about Donald Trump as if he's some kind of idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But actually, the guy does his homework. I mean, this is a tweet he sent in the year 2014. He said, "Are you allowed to impeach a president for gross incompetence?" So, I mean, even at that early stage, he was preparing for the next 4 years.
I mean, his press conferences in stark contrast to the Obama's final speeches as they leave the White House, Barack Obama's and Michelle Obama's, which I found particularly moving because she's a very eloquent woman, and her speech was very, very moving indeed. I mean, obviously it'll be an awful lot better when Melania does it.
Didn't he end the press conference with his old TV slogan?
Yeah, you're fired.
Didn't he?
Yeah.
You're fired. It's like, really, we are just living in a reality TV show that we can't turn off.
He was cross with CNN. He called them fake news. You're fake news. Even the BBC. He said, "Oh yeah, the BBC. That's another beauty." I hope he means that genuinely. Actually, if it's sarcasm, Donald, you're being very unfair. On this programme, we have been nothing but supportive. You should hear what they say on the news. Relievingly, this is the extraordinary press conference Donald Trump held this week, during which he was forced to deny unverified claims that, amongst other things, he'd watched Russian prostitutes urinate onto a bed. I mean, all this may well be untrue, but it's like believing in fairies or Father Christmas or that David Cameron put his willy in a dead pig's mouth. We want to believe these things are true because they make the world a brighter and happier place. As always, Trump appeared on stage with his entire family. It's like the Nolans, only less sinister. Either way, they both get me in the mood for dancing. To avoid any conflict of interest when he becomes president, Donald Trump said he has signed over total control of his businesses to the privileged and amoral products of his flabby, pathetic loins. He might not have used that exact term, but... 2 points to Mark. Zoe, what did Simon say about a cash injection?
This is Simon Stevens, the chief executive of NHS England, who has claimed that the money that Theresa May has given to the NHS isn't exactly as much as the government has claimed it's been. He said it's stretching a point to suggest that the government is giving them more money than they actually need. What has happened in real terms is the money given to the NHS is going down slowly over the years, and this has been highlighted in the news recently with the crisis within the NHS. Of course, you can't have a crisis within the NHS without Jeremy Hunt popping up. He's got a strange expression on his face, hasn't he, Jeremy Hunt? He never looks like he's fully focused at what's in front of him. He's got that far-off look in his eye, like a horse taking a really long wee. Weirdly, though, this week, Jeremy Hunt actually urge sick Brits not to go to A&E, which I suppose is one way of dealing with the problem, isn't it? If you just encourage healthy Brits to go to A&E, you're going to deal with them and process them a lot more quickly, aren't you? And not have to worry about hitting the targets that they're not currently doing. He mentioned this week that he was going to perhaps shift the targets a little bit. There's a target currently in place with the NHS that people have to be seen within 4 hours in an emergency situation. Fair enough. I mean, I take a similar view to targets. On the 1st of January, I said, Zoe, we are going to do dry January. And then on the 2nd of January, I had changed that target to, Zoe, we are going to do dry 1st of January. And then... and I'm very happy to report that I had hit that target. And I've been merrily drunk ever since. So
It's 4 hours, the target. That's a
4
target.
hours.
The target, not for everyone, but 95% of patients in A&E should be seen within 4 hours.
I think the pledge is still 4 hours. It's just that, originally it was we will see the patients in A&E within 4 hours, and now we will see the patients within 4 hours of their death. So it's near enough the same thing.
Didn't Jeremy Hunt take his own children to A&E in a non-emergency? And when he was asked about it, he just went, well, the GP was closed. It's like, yes, Jeremy, sort of the point, sort of your job.
So what was the busiest day then for hospitals? There's no points for this.
New Year's Eve?
No. 364 other days for you. The 27th of December was the busiest day. You get more and more people after Christmas, more and more people go to... I mean, the worse the NHS gets, the more people seem to want to use it. I mean, that's this thing like when people used to sort of read Dan Brown books and whatever. They go, that thing, apparently it's dreadful. I'm going to read it, just see how dreadful it is. It's having the same effect on people.
You see, but the 27th of December is 2 days after Christmas. That's when most family members have really had enough of each other and probably go into the kitchen and just lop a finger off. Yeah.
Cretaceously, this is the apparent crisis in the National Health Service, which led to NHS England Chief Executive Simon Stevens criticising Theresa May and administering a select committee slapdown, one of the World Wrestling Federation's least appealing pay-per-view events. Stevens annoyed the select committee by refusing to give them any information until they'd waited for 7 hours in a room containing nothing but a vending machine full of Lipton's iced tea and a child with a raisin up their nose. The Red Cross have been assisting the NHS and described the situation as a humanitarian crisis. Theresa May attacked their claims as irresponsible and overblown, and once she's done enhancing her popularity by tackling the Red Cross, she intends to take down other social menaces such as the Women's Institute, the RNLI and the Dogs Trust. It's nice of the Red Cross to bring their years of experience to the aid of the NHS, although one surgeon said that a metal canister coming through the roof full of condensed milk and corned beef did cause something of a distraction during an otherwise uneventful colonoscopy. 2 points to Zoe. Katie, who's had a failure to relaunch?
Oh, well, this is Jeremy Corbyn. And we heard all through December, didn't we, that there was going to be this relaunch of Jeremy Corbyn. It was going to be let Corbyn be Corbyn. He was going to be sold to the public as a populist leader, a left-wing populist leader, which is great, except obviously if you're going to be populist, you do need to be popular. You don't have to be right, you just need to be popular. And that's been a bit of a problem for him. It all happened the other day where he went on the radio to give his sort of relaunch interview and just spaffed a load of stuff that was in his head and then retracted it all later in the day, and that was the relaunch. So it's sort of, are we going to now have a relaunch of the relaunch? It's like sort of if NASA has a rocket, and they count down to launch it and it just sort of fizzes and falls over, they don't just sort of push it back up again. See, let's give this one another go. I guess they get another rocket. So I don't know. But he was talking about the maximum income cap in a kind of manner which implied he was making it up as he went along. He was then pressed as to what the maximum income should be, and he said it sort of broadly speaking should be a little bit higher than what he's on. I have to say, when I try to impose discipline about like eating crisps, I do the same thing. I think the maximum number of crisps I should eat, the maximum crisp cap should be slightly above what I would like to eat. So I do sympathise. But my theory with Jeremy Corbyn is that he doesn't know he's the leader of the Labour Party, which explains why he's in such a bad mood all the time, and he won't talk to the media, and he doesn't understand why they all want comment all the time, and that when the Tories announce some huge policy and then there's radio silence from Jeremy Corbyn because he's making jam, it's because he doesn't know. But I feel I am one of the disenfranchised centre now. We've got a government that's too right-wing for me to vote for, and an opposition that's too left-wing for me to vote for, and I feel like I'm this sort of millions of people, the disenfranchised centre. They've managed to alienate millions of us who are quite centre, and I literally have no idea who to vote for.
But you must have a dream person. There must be someone that you think, actually, that's the person that really speaks to me, be it Hilary Benn or Jacob Rees-Mogg, who I think are increasingly interchangeable.
Yeah, I mean, Simon Groom from Blue Peter. I
can't tell what platform is he standing on? Let's all be nicer to dogs.
At this point, I'd be happy with that, to be honest.
Does it matter what he says, though? Because then the way it gets reported, the press will just go, now Bin Laden says he'll force your pets to be Muslim or something. Or Corbyn to abolish the Navy and replace it with a salad or whatever. Now Corbyn to introduce women-only gravity. Men will be forced to float, says Labour leader.
Are you complaining about fake news, Mr. Trump?
And Michael, were you at any of these relaunch events?
I was, yeah. It was for months he's been saying he will defend freedom of movement in the EU, and then the night before his people told all the papers he's going to say he doesn't want freedom of movement anymore. And then the morning after that he was interviewed, he basically slapped himself down, distanced himself from his own speech, and said, no, I didn't. That's not what I mean. I'm still in favour of free movement. And then we actually got to the speech, and this is what he said, word for word this: Labour is not wedded to freedom of movement as a point of principle, but I don't want that to be misinterpreted, nor do we rule it out. And the thing is, I mean, Mark, you were talking about, the media misreporting him. That is word for word what he said, and he was not mangling his words. He wasn't just making this up at the top of his head.
This proves my point, that he doesn't know he's leader of the Labour Party. So he gets presented with statements by this mysterious figure called Jeremy Corbyn, and he has to read them and decide whether he agrees with them or not. Maybe what he needs is a story to come out that he paid prostitutes to urinate on Tony Blair's bed.
In a Premier Inn in Hull.
Yeah. Increase his popularity.
But wouldn't all the others do even worse? That's the thing. However badly, if it was Yvette Cooper or someone like that, Ed Balls maybe now on the sort of dancing with that legacy.
Surely you can't win a party leadership on a dancing ticket.
Well, I think at the moment that's possible.
Timorously, this is the exciting relaunch of Leader of the Opposition, Jeremy Corbyn. Yes, he's back, and this time it's confusing. The reboot left Labour insiders wishing they'd relaunch Corbyn the traditional way by smashing a bottle of champagne against his hull and waving a white hanky tearfully as he floats away into the Atlantic. According to the Labour leader's office, Corbyn will now be shooting from the hip, straight into a concrete pillar and ricocheting back into his own face. Corbyn suggested that bosses should be paid no more than 20 times their lowest paid worker. The rule would only apply to companies who hold contracts to work for the government. Although, frankly, if we're going to start penalising the CEOs of companies like Atos, G4S and Capita, then I think this country has simply forgotten how to reward success. 2 points to Katie. Michael, who's made a hash of cash for ash?
This would be Martin McGuinness. There's a huge crisis in Northern Irish politics. People are worried that maybe peace is at risk potentially because Martin McGuinness of Sinn Féin has resigned from the power-sharing executive after a big row they've had with the DUP over cash for ash, this green energy scandal. Basically, the government in Northern Ireland was trying to encourage people to use this more renewable energy. They were basically paying them to use these biomass boilers, I think they were, and if you installed one of these things, for every pound you spent on it, the government would pay you £1.60. But I gather that the idea wasn't very well thought through, because people realised there was actually no cap to the amount that you could receive from the government on this. And so you would get people just installing them just for making money out of it. And apparently there was a farmer who installed one in a barn that was completely empty, and he was just heating it day in and day out, and he stands to make up to about £1 million, I believe, from an empty barn. So that's going well. That's it. And he's not the only one raking it in from it, because apparently one of his cows has been advertising the barn as a sauna. And, animals are flocking to it. They do udder massages. They do hoof exfoliation. Absolutely raking it in. Loads of celebrities have been there. Gwyneth Paltrow's a big fan. She's
Has anyone else seen this then? Who else has stepped aside then? Or who's he been asking to step aside?
Trying to get them all to resign, presumably, and there'll be another election, isn't that right?
That's right, yeah. The leader, Arlene Foster, he says it's her fault because she was the energy... Was she the energy minister? I mean, I've written it down somewhere to avoid these sorts of incidents.
She's the other First Minister, isn't she?
Yeah, well,
she's the First Minister.
She's the First Minister.
He's
the
Deputy.
Deputy First... Well, no, he's just the Deputy Minister, isn't he?
Yes.
I should have written all of this down, to be honest.
It's very confusing, though, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be brilliant if the news was like this? And today in Northern Ireland, someone... What's his name? What do you call that chap? The other one with the ginger hair. He used to be in the IRA. Have you just hang on just a second? He was the Minister of... anyway, let's go on to the sports. Well, Manchester... one of the Manchesters beat someone at cricket, football, who don't know. Anyway, now over to the weather. Well, it's going to be either hot or dark or something. That's all from us. We'll be back at 9 for an update.
Point made. Did you see this story, Zoe?
Yes. Martin McGuinness wants Arlene Foster to go because she's First Minister of Northern Ireland, and she was in charge of this initiative when it first came out, the RHI.
That's right, the Renewable Heat Incentive.
But when I first When I first heard about the RHI in Northern Ireland, I wasn't sure whether there was another party that I was't aware of already. I was like, who are the RHI?
We're the real RHA. We've split from the continuity RHA.
It is incredible, though, given the the history of Northern Ireland and all of the troubles that through it all, the marches, all of those things that happened over all of those years, the things that should at the end be the end of shared power, wood pellets. It's just seems so quaint, really, doesn't it? Let's be honest. If you knew you could make £1 million over 20 years just leaving the radiators on, who wouldn't? I would. I haven't got a pension.
It's not brought unity between the two communities, though. Surely they must be able to agree on this. That's our pod the radiators on. Forget about other religion.
Tops off, everybody relax. I suppose that solves a lot of problems, doesn't it, sometimes? Decimally, this is the story of the Cash for Ash scandal in Northern Ireland, where a mistake over incentives for renewable energy has prompted the resignation of Deputy First Minister Martin McGuinness. Northern Ireland is governed through an agreement where the DUP and Sinn Féin share power, like the Conservatives and the Lib Dems did, except they share power. For every £1 that farmers spent on renewable fuel, they received up to £1.60 in subsidies. This led to farmers needlessly heating agricultural outbuildings for their own financial gain. Concerns first arose when a farmer in Antrim was spotted turning the doorknob to his cowshed while wearing oven gloves. At least this will bring a bit of variety to those delightful murals. Guns, balaclava, lovely warm barn. 2 points to Michael. And at the end of round 1, the scores are Mark and Zoe have 4, and so too do Katie and Michael. We start round 2 with an advert in the pet section of the Sheerness Times and Guardian.
6-foot boa constrictor, free to good home, very friendly, good eater, likes children.
Thanks to Carl Heller and Lizzie Jane for sending us that. Mark, whose World Cup runneth over?
Ah, right, yes, this is an easy one. The World Cup, it's run by FIFA, which was governed by this particularly unpleasant chap called Sepp Blatter for many years, who kept getting re-elected. And as someone who loves sport, the last World Cup was spoilt for me, because I thought, this is a marvellous event, a World Cup, but there's Sepp Blatter. And I thought, a bit like if you went to a really lovely barbecue one day, and it was all delightful, except the sausages were being served by Robert Mugabe. It sort of spoils it, you know what I mean?
Although you might have just given Donald Trump an idea for the inauguration.
So he's gone, and now this other chap has taken over, but there's going to be 48 teams in the World Cup, which is I mean, it must be corrupt. I would think if it gets to 260 countries in the finals of the World Cup, you'll know then that what's happened is that the Scottish FA have bribed them because then they've got half and half a chance of getting into it. So 48 countries are going to be in the World Cup, which is just too many. It's daft, isn't it?
Even for a big fan like you, that's too many.
Yeah, nice. It's mad, isn't it? It's all, it's rubbish, isn't it?
How long will it... Can't say fairer.
I don't mind when the football's... in fact, as a supporter of Crystal Palace, I mean, my favourite moments, I thought, this is why I come here. We're in the Premier League now, but when Palace were in the lower league, I thought, this is exactly why I come here. It was a freezing night. It was about 4:15. Can't remember who scored first. One team scored when the ball rolled between someone's legs, and the other team scored when it bounced off about 5 people who couldn't see it going in, and it trickled in over the mud. And the bloke behind me said, I'm enjoying this. I've always said football's so much better when both teams are shit.
Yeah, well, now there'll be that sort of quality of play well into the quarter-finals.
But I don't know, it just seems that there's going to be 16 groups with 3 in them, which is all wrong, isn't it? Because how can you have a group of 3 and the top 2 go through out of 3, and it's just open to all sorts of jiggery-pokery and stuff. So, no, I'm not a fan. I love the World Cup. This is what I love about England as well, particularly London. When the World Cup's on, you can go and watch a game, pretty much whoever's playing, with people from the countries that are playing. So if Australia are playing, there'll be a place where the Australians are watching the French, Brazilians or whatever. And there's a Ghanaian, near to where I live, there's a Ghanaian pub. And it's just so joyous and exciting. It's not like watching England with a load of England fans, which is no joy in it at all. It's all tension, and it's all that sort of... But it's joy. They took drums down there. They drummed. So they actually dance alongside Mark Lawrenson's miserable commentary. They're actually... I don't know why they're playing 5 across the map. They're killing the game. Boom, 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 boom. It's exciting. And there was a free kick given against Ghana, and they all got cross. And this woman, this yellow shouted, the most brilliant thing I've ever heard shouted at a game of football. As it all died down, she went, "The referee is a wicked, wicked man." I love the World Cup. I think this is, but I can't. I don't know. My mind. Am I being miserable here? 48 teams is too.
But well, didn't there used to be fewer than now? Like, isn't this just not liking things changing?
Probably, yeah.
Start off with 2 teams that played each other. Wow. We thought we'd do 40. No.
Probably.
No, it'll go on for more than a day.
Yeah.
I read quite a good quote about this that made me laugh. Where someone said, "Either this will make billions more money or billions less." Okay, well, that's not quite... I mean, is that sort of Labour economic policy? It's not just like give or take.
No, there's all sorts of daft decisions. I mean, in the Qatar World Cup, there's a scheme where if you can heat the pitch, you actually get £1.6 for every pound.
Then added to your goal tally, isn't it? Yeah,
critics have said this is just FIFA pandering to the growing Asian market. Sort of pandering to Asia. That got confused me. I just thought... I thought they sent us pandas.
Yeah, it's a bit close to Newcastle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you going to be affected by this, Michael?
Am I going to be affected by it?
Yeah.
I wasn't intending to play, personally. If I get a call-up, I'll think
You've got to book more leave than you were expecting to, obviously.
Yeah. The next World Cup, actually, I mean, that's not affected by this, but the next World Cup is in Russia, isn't it? And what with Vladimir Putin and all the rest of it, I personally think that British teams shouldn't be going there. And it's really great to see the way Scotland have stepped up. And
I don't know, I heard they couldn't organise a piss-up in a hotel room.
Probably, this is the thrilling news that FIFA have voted to expand the Football World Cup to 48 teams. This is baffling to those of us who thought football was normally contested by 2 teams, but I can't wait to see how it all works out. This may mean a longer tournament. It's estimated that children will be born, grow, forge relationships, reproduce and die in the time it takes to select 8 quarter-finalists. And, of course, the live televised draw will appeal to all lovers of repetitive strain injury. It was a classic FIFA ballot, totally above board and transparent. They tallied the votes up for and against expanding the World Cup and announced that the result was Qatar. 2 points to Mark. Vision.
This is the news. This is the news that the government have finalised plans to build a tunnel near Stonehenge, expanding the A303, which is a main road but has become very, very busy with more traffic upon it. And certain sectors are happy about the news. The National Trust and the English Heritage, who I think look after Stonehenge, I don't know, I wouldn't do the hoovering and dust around it, I'm sure, are in favour of the tunnel as long as it's long enough to sort of not damage the area around Stonehenge. But others are up in arms because it is an area of huge historic importance and Neolithic importance. I mean, I'm no historian myself, and I just wonder why they had to build Stonehenge so close to the A303 in the first place. The sad thing is, if they do build a tunnel near Stonehenge, then kids of many generations will miss out on that moment that you never forget the first time you see Stonehenge. You drive past it and everybody in the car goes, "Oh, it's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be." People have the same reaction to seeing Stonehenge as they do, I would imagine, to meeting Tom Cruise for the first time. I mean, this is just an ongoing issue with increased volume of traffic on our roads in the United Kingdom, you know, and the sort of failing infrastructure that we have. You know, it's the same with the railway system that is buckling as well at the moment.
Perhaps we should build a new railway under the current railway.
Possibly.
Just tunnel underneath it. If you live sort of Brighton to London, they should build a new railway that goes under the existing Southern Rail one.
Do you know what? Right now, Miles, that makes more sense than anything else that is being offered up as a solution to this ongoing situation. I live in Brighton, so I consider myself a Southern Rail survivor. And we're recording this in January. I had to set off in Easter just to make sure that I could get here on time.
I think it should be one of these sort of like 1950s films set around Southern Rail with David Niven and Alec Guinness, and one proposes to the other, I wish, sir, to propose a bet. We shall both set off for London Victoria. I shall begin in the hills of Nepal, where you can begin on the concourse at Brighton Station. I may travel by whichever mode of transport takes me across land, and you must get the Southern Railway, which will see who gets there first. And you see Alec Guinness on a yak in Nepal and that, and poor David Niven stuck, having to live for a couple of weeks in Red Hill because there's been a signal failure and stuff.
The trouble is, it would ruin other classic films like A Brief Encounter. Yeah. They'd just spend their lives together.
It would become awkwardly long encounter.
I appear to have forgotten who I was married to in the first place.
The railway children would just become the railway middle-aged people.
Insipidly, this is the news that a plan to dig a tunnel under Stonehenge has been approved by Chris Grayling, the Druid of State for Transport. Experts predict the rumbling of lorries beneath the henge will cause the stones to vibrate, finally sending a signal to our alien overlords that we're here and ready to die. I like to think that in thousands of years' time, our descendants will travel down the A303 to the remains of a welcome break and have no idea what it can possibly have been used for. No one can be sure what the point of Stonehenge is, but it's thought that prehistoric Britons might have constructed it as some kind of bell-end magnet. 2 points to... 2 points to Zoe. Katie, where's Wally?
Well, I know what this is about, actually, although the first time I heard it, I did think it was the code name for the Russian dossier on Donald Trump. But in actual fact, Where's Wally is a reference to a man who was on the run from the police for traffic offences, who was supposed to go to a court appearance and decided not to go, and he decided instead to dress up as Where's Wally, the character who wears a red striped bobble hat and a red T-shirt, and you'd get him in books, wouldn't you, where there would be a big cartoon and Wally would be hiding and you had to find Wally. So he dressed up as Wally and put pictures of himself on Facebook taunting the police in Yorkshire with "Where's Wally?" So I'm just outside and all of this. And so this went on for some time. And then finally, there was quite a sweet little reference in the story that friends drove him to the police station. So I don't know anything about this man. He may be of perfectly sound mind, but his friends had to drive him to the police station.
Concerned relatives.
I mean, the actual crime he committed, I believe, was driving without insurance, which is quite serious. So I'm not sure he quite understood the magnitude of the crime that he had committed, but he's been charged and he's paid his fine now. But yeah, I'd like to see more cartoons in police procedure. Really, I think I'd like to see more cartoons in police procedural about road crime, and we should have. I think they should join in. We should have Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, where they dress up as Wile E. Coyote and chase criminals dressed as Roadrunner. I'd like to do all sorts. I did actually once lose Dastardly and Muttley, genuinely. I helped once organise an award ceremony, and they booked 2 people to dress up as Dastardly and Muttley to present 2 awards, and we couldn't find them at the point at which they were supposed to be on stage, and I was sent to run around this hotel to try to find Dastardly and Muttley, and I had to ask guests and members of the staff if they'd seen Dastardly and Muttley. We eventually found Dastardly drunk in the men's toilets, and Muttley was stuck in a lift. I sympathise with the police to some extent, you know. But yes, this guy has led them on a merry dance with his Where's Wally antics, but he's banged to rights now, brought to justice.
Well, what's happened to him?
I think he's been convicted, and he was driven by friends to his court appearance, and he was convicted and fined. Where he is now, we don't know.
I tell you the thing. He'll be on a really crowded beach somewhere, probably.
I tell you the thing I really couldn't stand about this story, which was, according to this man, the police thought it was hilarious and called him a legend. Now, you can talk about Donald Trump, you can talk about Vladimir Putin, you can talk about ISIS, but to me, when the police are hailing a criminal for his legendary banter, that is the sign that the end of the world is coming. And also that we deserve it.
Do you think this guy's a hero or an arse?
Arse was the
Mark, hero or arse?
No sort of shades of grey with this?
Bit of an arse, quite a hero. Neither an arse nor a hero.
Bit of an arse would be my vote. Not massive arse.
You don't think, I don't know, wasting police time and that sort of thing? Maybe you're less in favour of the police
time. Not doing anything much anyway, are they?
Is it really what in Harrogate? Well, no, there could have been things going on. The people could have been, I don't know, stealing each other's recycling bins and stuff like that.
Harrogate.
Harrogate, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh, that sort of thing doesn't normally happen in Harrogate, is it? Just sort of
quite posh,
Alan Bennett walking around going, "Who wants an Eccles cake?" So, it's been quite an exciting day.
Alan Bennett is not a street vendor. Well, comfortably, these are the escapades of cheeky Yorkshire driving offender J.J. McMenamin, who went on the run from a court date in Northallerton, taunting the police by posting pictures online of himself dressed as Where's Wally. I never knew that in the books Wally was actually fleeing a court date. For me, this has really helped fill in much of the backstory. Of course, with the Where's Wally books, the real character you discover is your own, forged in the heat of the quest. The first book was called Where's Wally, then there was Where's Wally Next, followed by Where's Wally Now? Seriously, Wally, where are you? Come on, Wally, it's not funny anymore. Wally, it's getting dark. Come on, Wally, you're the one with the car keys. Wally, you've not had your meds. For God's sake, Wally, don't throw it all away. Think of the twins. In America, it's called Where's Waldo? And in Russia, it's called Where Did These Prostitutes Come From? 2 points to Katie. Michael, have a listen to this. Michael, who has been getting up to some monkey business?
This is animal sex. Scientists have found a monkey having sex with a deer. And they think this is unique because normally animals don't have sex with completely different species. Or at least, anyway, this is what the scientists claim anyway, but the monkeys held a news conference and he said it's fake news. These scientists are a failing pile of garbage. It's a biased campaign by the dishonest scientific elite to undermine the monkey, just as he's about to become president. And the monkey will not stop tweeting about it. He doesn't know how to take the caps lock off. He's only a dumb animal, so...
It's interesting that they were very keen to specify that it was consensual sex.
Mm.
But I've always found deer to look quite impassive, and I how do you know if a deer is consenting? That's why...
Well, apparently there's a secret recording of the monkey boasting about it to another monkey. He says he can have sex with any deer he likes, you know. They let you do anything, just grab him by the antlers.
But it can't be that unusual for one animal to have sex
Apparently
with
it's
another
not that unusual, it's just this is one of the only recorded incidents. So they don't manage to film it very often.
I mean, dogs will have sex with anything, don't they? They don't sort of look up the Observer book of other dogs, do they? And go, oh, is it in there? No, it must be a goat. Never mind.
Well, dolphins frequently frighten female swimmers. You know, it's meant to be a dream to go swimming with dolphins. For some women, it's not. Not if you're wearing a bikini that takes a dolphin's eye. This
Or
is
a
genuinely
dolphin
true.
costume.
Yeah.
I saw a rabbit on a cat once. In someone's house, it just happened, you know.
You didn't even think to film it, Mark. Great to go to the wider
time ago,
scientific
it was before the
community.
days of YouTube and all that.
Is this the way the world has gone, though, that even animals are having to release sex tapes to sort of boost their careers? One night in Bambi.
Yeah, that deer now is like the Kim Kardashian of the deer world.
Yeah.
This isn't how it used to be with Sandy.
I think, yeah, I was thinking that. There was very little. In her day, the interspecies sex stuff would be in round one. Galvanisingly, this is the enchanting tale of an interspecies romance, and I use the word romance extremely euphemistically, between a macaque monkey and a sika deer, thought to be the only second instance of sex between distantly related wild animals ever recorded. If Noah had known this sort of thing was possible, he could have saved a lot of space. Just one of every animal and a monkey that's really prepared to put the hours in. This is like one of those stories where people who were pen pals before World War II find each other again and get married despite all the obstacles. Just another instance where love conquers all. Some say it's love. If you ask me, the deer only went through with it because it needed a piano moving. 2 points to Michael. Before we reveal the final scores, has anybody got a cutting that they'd like to share? Mark.
It's sent in by Mark Hudson from Welling Garden City. It's 5 Live interview with Lewis Hamilton after the Japanese Grand Prix. And the interviewer said, Lewis, we could see the damp patch on the starting grid. How nervous were you?
Zoe.
This has been sent in by Tom Godwin from Cardiff, and he heard this on a train announcement on a Swansea to Paddington First Grace Western train. Apparently the guard came on the tannoy and said, "We apologise to passengers intending to leave the train at Slough this evening. We've just passed Slough."
Thank you, and now let's take a look at the final score. Katie and Michael have 8, but this week's winners are Mark and Zoe with 9. Before we leave you, here is an announcement spotted in the annual report of the Harpenden RSPB, sent in by John Allen.
Our accounts have been independently examined this year by Maureen Lamburn following John Thornton's retirement, for which we are most grateful.
And with that, goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz were Mark Steele, Zoe Lyons, Katie Bryant and Michael Deacon. In the chair was Miles Jupp and the news was read by me, Diana Speed. The chair's script was written by James Kettle, Benjamin Partridge and Danielle Ward, with additional material by Catherine Bohart and Jenny Laveau. The producer was Richard Morris and it was a BBC Studios production.
We present the news quiz with your host, Miles Jupp.
Welcome to the news quiz. We start with an excerpt from a Somerset flyer read by Susan Ray.
Open Days 2018. Sunday, the 22nd of April, Baby Goat Open Day. Sunday, the 8th of July, Goats Galore Open Day. Sunday, the 16th of September, Goats in Autumn Open Day. Sunday, the 25th of November, Fresh Meat Sale.
Our thanks to John Revington for sending that in. Now let's meet the teams. Will you welcome first, on my right, Jeremy Hardy and Kerry Pritchard-McLean. And opposite them, on my left, Helen Lewis and Fern Brady. Jeremy, who's decided sanctions are no big deal?
Donald Trump, there is fever pitch in the Middle East. Of course, it all starts with Netanyahu's weird presentation about the Iranian nuclear program. And then America responds by saying, well, this is terrible news, what we've just learned from Israel. This is making us think very much about this Iran nuclear deal. And it was like that weird interplay you get on an advert on daytime television where two men are walking around a garden centre and the one says, look, a shovel. I expect that's kind of like the one they used to bury Brian. And the other one says, makes you think, doesn't it? That's why I've taken out over 50s life insurance. And so America went into this cod, this is terrible news that we've heard out. This confirms what we thought. And we better pull out of this deal. And then miraculously, rockets are flying between, well, not between Israel and Iran, between Iranian targets in Syria and Israeli targets within the occupied Golan Heights. It would be hard for Iran to actually attack Israel because they don't recognise it. I don't know why they don't recognise it. It looks exactly like Palestine. Mainly take, obviously. What Netanyahu is doing is making Israel a very, very dangerous place. And one of the whole points of Israel was supposed to be a safe place for Jewish people to be. And Netanyahu is making it one of the most dangerous places in the world for Jewish people to be. But then I suppose in a way that was probably always the point, because Britain kicked off this sort of situation with the Balfour Declaration. And if Britain had wanted to create a safe place for Jewish people, they'd have said, you know what, you can have the Cotswolds. Very, very fertile, it's very picturesque, and it is so dull. If there's anything you could do by way of show business or tailoring, just liven the place up. But it is by far the prettiest and most balls-achingly tedious part of the United Kingdom. So by all means, have it and do what you will with it. But that's not what happened.
Would anyone like to speak in defence of Netanyahu or indeed the Cotswolds?
I suppose the best thing will be that you're going to get hate mail from the Cotswolds and it's going to be beautiful stationery.
Trump, then, is there any sense to his behaviour?
No. He just wants to do it because it's two fingers up to Obama. Obama had the Iran deal, therefore I won't have the Iran deal. We've gone in the space of 2 years to just thinking all this is normal. Like the Netanyahu presentation wasn't even the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing was the fact that Boris Johnson had to go over there. And because he wrote an op-ed in the New York Times, they went, well, Trump doesn't really read, so he's not going to see that. So they booked him on Fox and Friends because it's the only TV programme he watches.
Do you think the reverse would be true? If sort of Trump wanted to get through to Boris Johnson, he could come over here and appear on Television X's 10-minute Freeview, and that's making snide remarks about customs unions. And there is that thing, isn't there? Do you think a lot of it is sort of vengeance-based? Do you think he has a very strong ideological idea about the Iran agreement, or it's simply, if it's something that Obama likes, I don't like it? Do you think when he was being shown around the White House, they go, right, okay, so this is the bathroom, obviously, this is, Obama used to do his business in the big white china thing. Like, oh, right, well, it's the basin for me then, if that guy used that.
Definitely, it's all to get at Obama. And I feel so sorry for Obama because, so he described it as misguided. He's just running out of ways to politely condemn insane behaviour, just constantly refreshing the thesaurus app on his phone going, I don't need another word for apocalypse.
He's sort of working, he's the opposite of a builder, isn't he? He's slagging off the guy that did the job after him. How do you feel about this, Fern?
As soon as I finished watching the video of Trump, I started Googling what bucket list activities are compatible with uranium poisoning. And I was like, what happens when you get uranium poisoning? Because I don't really know, but I feel like I should know now.
It's a bit of a blow for the UK, I think, because after Brexit, the brutal theocracy that is Iran is probably one of the countries that we now get on best with, I think. And that's kind of, it might have blown our chances of finally joining the axis of evil. This is Donald Trump's announcement that he's pulling out of the Iran deal. Clearly, Trump wants to send a message to Iran, and that message appears to be, please start making a bomb. The move could embolden hardline forces in Iran and worsen sectarian conflicts from Syria to Yemen. But on the plus side, it did momentarily distract Trump from the broken synapses thrashing around in his brain like electricity cables that have been gnawed through by a gopher with nothing to live for. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani said he would wait a few weeks before making any decisions on the country's future. As I've always said, never restart uranium enrichment when you're angry. Write the codes down in a letter, pop it in a drawer. European companies doing business with Iran will have to complete any work within 6 months or face US sanctions, which is great news for the many families in Tehran who are still waiting for the Basingstoke branch of Dolphin Bathrooms to come and finish what they bloody well started. 2 points to Jeremy. Helen, who's been mouthing off on their Blonde Ambition tour?
Oh, this must be Boris Johnson, who has called the idea of a customs partnership, quote, crazy. So back in the heady days of March 2018, Theresa May gave a speech at Mansion House in which she said there were two options that she was thinking about, either a customs partnership or we might have some kind of facilitated solution, which is now being called MaxFac, which is one of those things that everybody thinks is very cool because it's suddenly got kind of an acronym or a cool name for it. But anyway, Boris Johnson couldn't make that speech, but he tweeted a picture of himself giving it a literal thumbs up. But guess who thinks that the Boris Johnson of March 2018 is an absolute idiot? Boris Johnson of May 2018. So he now thinks it's an incredibly stupid idea. They are two unworkable solutions, both of which have been rejected by the EU. So Boris Johnson is right, it is a crazy solution. Nonetheless, it is one of the ones apparently the Cabinet are discussing. I just feel like maybe Brexit isn't going that well. Just a hunch. Just a stab in the dark.
You are an absolute maverick, Helen Lewis.
Do you know the worst quote I heard about it in the BBC story? It had, former Conservative leader Ian Duncan Smith said, adopting the model would go against everything I know about government. Probably shouldn't do that then.
House of Lords is in open rebellion again, aren't they? The Mail headline was Traitors in Ermine, which I think is side A, track 4 of the first Velvet Underground.
When he was calling it crazy, he was saying that the deal, it would just create a whole new web of bureaucracy. And you think, who really needs bureaucracy anyway? I mean, I think the last thing you really want when we're reorganising one of the busiest borders in the world is richest trading bloc is accurate record keeping. I mean, that way lies madness, surely. This is Boris Johnson, who this week went to Washington and denounced Theresa May's customs partnership plan as crazy. Boris believes that the proposed customs partnership will stop us from striking new trade deals for UK goods around the world, threatening the post-Brexit paradise where we all get rich by turning Malawi onto Tunnock's caramel wafers. All this has exposed the split in the Cabinet over post-Brexit trade, with Theresa May, Boris and David Davis divided over which of the options already rejected by the EU we're going to pointlessly pursue for the next few months before finally backing down and blaming anyone other than ourselves. Boris said a trade deal could not be made with the US while the UK remained in the lunar pull of Brussels, finally admitting what I have long suspected, that Theresa May is a werewolf. Clearly, she ran through those wheat fields by the light of a silvery moon, then disemboweled a sheep with her huge fang-like teeth. Which, in retrospect, I have to admit, is quite naughty. On the subject of Europe, the Cabinet is at loggerheads, which I believe is a government-owned country house slightly larger than Chequers, with ample room for entertaining. It was Tony Blair who once remarked, I never felt happier than those long sun-dappled afternoons I spent at loggerheads with Cherie, both of us furious, sweating, and as naked as the day we were born. Meanwhile, there will now be a vote in the Commons over membership of the EEA. And the big question is, what will Jeremy Corbyn do? Well, who knows? It all depends whether the Labour leadership have time firstly to get through to Tony Benn on the Ouija board, and secondly, to get him off the subject of digestives. 2 points to Helen. Kiri, who's putting in more hours at the office?
Putin's got another term. No one saw that coming. You've got 2 terms, you can't do a third term, I think it is. So he changed his name because he was president and they changed it to prime minister so he could just do the same job with a different, which shows a real lack of imagination, I think, as well, that he's just gone for that. Like, if you could call yourself anything, you'd be like, Grandmaster, Renegade, Badass, Lover, Man. Like, bare minimum. What's he going to be called on a stag do? Homophobic Vlad. There's been massive protests as well. There was a lavish ceremony with celebrity guests, including Steven Seagal. Exactly the apathy it should be greeted with. At least Trump had Kanye, who is good at his job, whereas Steven Seagal is a terrible actor. He's an awful musician. He's not even a competent seagull.
Say what you want about Russia, but their opinion posters are incredibly accurate, though. To us. You know, any election night, there'll be some buffoon sitting in a Newsnight studio going, well, there seems little doubt that in the key marginals of Brigadoon North and Lilliput South, the Whigs will sweep to power or lose crashingly with a margin of between 1 and 1 million seats. At least in Russia, they get it absolutely spot on. But I'm sick of the mainstream media, so I dip into Russia Today because I think it's very refreshing to hear a lively and often bad-tempered agreement between 4 ageing Stalinists who all think Putin's absolutely fantastic. The weird thing is about those old Stalinists, they absolutely love Russia as it is now, and you think, but it's... I mean, all right, I'll forgive you for imagining that the Soviet Union was a workers' paradise when manifestly it wasn't. But I can't forgive you for the fact that the Soviet Union hasn't existed for 30 years. You haven't noticed this. It's like saying, well, I support Russia because say what you like about Ivan the Terrible. He's a strong ruler who knows his own mind. Places change. They're not the same. It's like there was a shop down our road when I was a kid that my mum called Emerton's. It wasn't Emerton's. Mr. Emerton had died and the business had gone to somebody else. But to my mum, it was always Emerton's. And she said, can you go down to Emerton's? I would say, Mum, you're embarrassing. It's not Emerton's. Can you just go to Emerton's? Mum, it's not. It doesn't matter. It's always Emerton's to me. Get me some barley water. In the end, it became a house. I'd say, Mum, it's someone's house. We can't go. Water anymore. It's like Brixton was once a Surrey village, then it was a sort of London suburb, then it was a hub of Afro-Caribbean life, and now with gentrification it's a Surrey village again. Yeah. This place has changed.
What did the shop sell?
But lemon barley water.
Oh. See, I knew there was going to be a queue for great, sort of big jars on shelves kind of anecdote.
Oh, there were big jars with sort of like unborn children in them and things like that. Sort of thing. This is the Victorian age.
And the ceremony then, it looked absolutely lavish for things. Did anyone, was there an open invite for everyone at the New Statesman, Helen?
Free bar, it said, so we were straight down there. Yeah. Stephen Seagal was the bit that did me. He looked sort of slick, actually weirdly like an otter. Not being in touch with his name there. But I do think the problem I have with the news now is that it's all ridiculous all the time. You notice that April Fool's Day has just died now as a concept because people go, is it any different? I can't really see the difference. And I just think there is a big problem in the modern world that our evil is now so ridiculous you can't take it seriously. Vladimir Putin kills his enemies, has extracted a huge amount of wealth from Russia, but he also rides around topless on a horse. It's very hard to hold those two things in your mind at the same time.
Also, evil should take a toll on your face, but Putin looks incredible. There's been speculation he's had facial fillers, and if you look at pictures of him in the early days of his reign, he looks tired, like a lot of world leaders do. Now he's got cheeks like Chrissy Teigen's. His cheeks are like these round apples. He's had cheek fillers, under eye fillers. I think Steven Seagal's been going to the same Botox doctor, though, because he looked like a taxidermied version of himself.
He's not bumping off his political enemies. I just think he's harvesting their collagen.
Do you think the mainstream media have been deliberately ignoring just how great his skin is? This is plucky little underdog Vladimir Putin, who has won a shock victory in the Russian presidential election with a wholly unexpected 76.7% of the vote. Actually, 76.7% isn't that big. It's less than Labour's share of the vote in Hackney South and Shoreditch. Maybe Meg Hillier MP should pop over to the Kremlin and show Vladimir what a vice-like grip on power really looks like. Putin was welcomed into his fourth term in office in the imperial throne room of the Kremlin, in scenes only equalled for glory, majesty and sheer sense of destiny by Carwyn Jones's 2009 nomination as First Minister of Wales. Putin said he pledged to defend traditional Russian values, the top three of which, according to a recent poll, are murdering your rivals in cold blood, homophobia and folk dancing. Supporters see him as a father figure. If your father wrote down the names of all your friends who've called him a dick, then turned up later on their doorsteps and shot them. 2 points to Kerry. Fern, who wants to be a millennial heir?
Basically, a think tank called the Resolution Foundation have said that we should give millennials £10,000 when they turn 25. It's not that crazy an idea, and similar ideas have already been put forward, things like a basic income and a citizen's income. But the whole idea of it is it's meant to repair the intergenerational contract, which has been broken because our parents own houses and millennials are much less likely to be able to afford a house. And the breaking of the intergenerational contract has played out in real life with me, where I've resorted to just empty threats with my father down the phone, like, I'm telling you, if you don't help me with a deposit for a house, I'm going to put you in the worst care home. I just find it frustrating that, two of the dumbest people I've ever met in my life, mum and dad, own 3 houses between them. My dad still thinks Trump's name is Trump. 90% of what I say to my mum is, you can Google this, mum. You don't need to ask me. You can Google it. I went to a good university. I got a first in my dissertation on Russian metafiction. That's serving me well. And I live in a basement in Catford. The other day, I said to my boyfriend, I think we could settle in Catford while we calmly sidestepped a man being held down by 5 policemen. We'll keep renting here. It gets brought up over and over again that millennials are really entitled and they're spending all the money on avocados and avocado toast. Like, see, by the time my parents were my age, they had 3 kids, which costs about 690 grand to raise 3 kids over a lifetime. Or you can save money like my parents did by booting me out at 16. I hope yous are listening. Avocados are 2 for £1. Like, I could not eat avocados and I still can't save up a deposit for a house.
And the thing that gets me is it provokes such incredible anger. It touches something really deep in people's psyche. I think it is my kids are going to put me in a home fear, basically, because people get furious about it and they go, I've paid in all my life. And you go, well, I've paid in all my life. It's just, I'm not 65 yet. I can't go forward in time and reassure you that I will at some point have paid in all my life.
Would it make enough of a difference?
Yeah, I'd say 10 grand, yeah.
Well, it's just not enough, is it? 10 grand isn't really a dent into anything when you have tuition fees and things like that. It's like my dad thinking that a big issue is still £1 because that's the year he stopped caring about other people. It's not like, oh, here's 10 grand, go and put a deposit on a detached townhouse. And also, I'm annoyed because they're saying that you give it to 25-year-olds. I always miss out on stuff like this. I'm 31 now, but I'm still in that age. I'm still a millennial, and I'm missing out. Lost the rail card. I'm really angry about this. But 25-year-olds, like, I get it, but, like, they get everything. They get a Poison Planet, Rising Temperatures, and Love Island. I really feel like I should get something, is what this is all about.
May I say on behalf of the over 50s that we're very sorry for any inconvenience we might have caused.
I don't believe you. Stop buying hot tubs and conservatories and eating all the prawns, and then...
How are you supposed to cook prawns without a hot tub?
Yeah. Seriously though, Jeremy, what are you going to do to help us?
All right, I got 2 kidneys, 2 corneas, a liver, a couple of testicles, 1 functioning
This is
knee.
the worst generation game ever.
This is the Resolution Foundation's report into intergenerational fairness, which suggests that all 25-year-olds should be given £10,000 to reduce wealth disparities. To put that figure in perspective, £10,000 is just enough to establish your own think tank and start promising things that'll never, ever happen. The wealthy ones are the baby boomers, the generation born between 1946 and 65. Basically anyone who combines a love of the White Album with a forgiving attitude to sexual harassment. Anyway, this is intended to reduce the economic disparity between wealthy pensioners and people in their 20s. If you're wondering what it'll do for those of us who are neither in our 20s nor wealthy pensioners, the answer is, as usual, it stokes our resentment. 2 points to Fern. And at the end of round 1, the scores are Jeremy and Kiri have 5 and Helen and Fern have 4. We start round 2 with a clipping from a local newspaper.
Student receives first-hand job experience aboard Boeing 747.
Thank you, Phil Sparrow, for sending us that. Jeremy, who's been in the frame for some sarky remarks?
This is Theresa May. Is it?
Well...
Theresa May went to Oxford University, like many politicians, and she studied geography and learned that there are different places in the world and you can allocate people to those places on the basis of colour. Someone did a painting of sort of running through arable crops, being chased by Boris Johnson in a combine harvester. And they put it up in this Oxford college, and people, of course, graffitied it and wrote comments on it and put, things in Latin, as Oxford people would do, and lots of post-its. And therefore it was removed. And people said, this is terrible, this is an attack on free speech, because all these young people have been exercising their free speech by drawing things on it. And people said it's especially disrespectful to the Prime Minister, given that she's a woman, and this is the year when we celebrate the centenary of the act that meant that women of her class were given the vote. And she takes credit for that because her time machine. And it's also especially relevant this year because it's 90 years since universal suffrage, and also this is the year when the government piloted an ID scheme to abolish universal suffrage in the local elections. But people have written on this picture of us saying mean stuff, as we all would. I mean, come on, if you walked past a picture of Theresa May and you had a Sharpie and you didn't do something to it, I mean, you just would. I bet even Philip privately, goes through the photograph albums at home drawing moustaches on her and things like that.
So, what particular moustache do you think he'd add to her?
Oh, a big handlebar one, big Gerald Nabarro one. Showing my age now. But yeah, but they took it down for refurbishing and removing all the post-it notes and saliva and Sharpie, and it's become this huge argument about platforming and non-platforming and safe spaces. But the whole point of graffiti is if you don't put it on things, it's just writing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? People, if you just did it in exercise books and then put it in a drawer, then what would skateboarders look at?
Do you think there's a lot of skateboarding in the geography faculty?
I expect there's baseball caps worn backwards in there.
Sounds like an absolute nightmare. They've sort of asked for this because they put the picture up and then left a space next to it for people to add their thoughts about the picture. So they were sort of inviting it. They were like saying, look, we're going to open a window now and you can all hurl abuse through it and there'll be no... like Twitter works, I suppose. And there'll be sort of no...
It is. That's why, like in the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, if you're a girl, you never ever have on your picture your mouth open. Because what's the first thing some drunk people are going to do? They're going to fill it. And, like, this is the annoying thing about this for me, is that it's Oxford kids, and they've clearly never graffitied anything properly in their life before. There's not one single hairy testicled penis on it.
Is there not?
No. Boris Johnson will rock up next so he can change it. But, like, there's nothing like that. And that's just not good enough, because the things they've written are really sort of, like, sweet and educated. Like, one of them is School of Geography and Hostile Environment, ? It's hardly smack talk, is it? They're basically going, maybe you're not the best person for your job, perhaps I'm sorry. Like, they shouldn't be allowed to graffiti, they can't do it properly.
That's what I don't understand about it, is the fact that actual government ministers were putting out comments on this, on the interior decor of the Oxford Geography Department. I mean, have they not got anything else on? Like, do they want to come around and do my bathroom? Is that what they do now? They just give opinions on interior decor?
What's gone wrong with your bathroom?
Well, I'm very worried because it's quite small and it's got an extractor fan, which I don't think is really doing the business. But that's for another time, Miles.
You know the fan's not for solids, don't you? It's just a solid.
They put it so high up to try and dissuade them. Absolute red rag to a bull. You see it as a challenge.
A hell of a throwing arm on her, isn't she?
Hammering it with a shoe.
Well, where do you think the expression came from? I mean...
This is the latest from the University of Oxford, where the authorities have taken down a picture of Theresa May from public display in the School of Geography after students placed messages of protest around it. The university said the picture had been taken down to protect it from humorous and satirical messages, which I think we can all agree are the worst kind. I often write satirical messages around the family portraits in my home, such as, please stack the dishwasher correctly or you will have to watch Daddy cry again. The first mistake was to put the portrait up in the geography department, which has spent centuries encouraging students to annotate pictures of cold, lifeless formations. To be fair to Theresa May, she was never expecting the portrait to be hung, and must really regret calling that snap life drawing session. Probably the best thing to do is reprint the portrait with a sepia tint, and the university authorities can just claim that her crimes were committed 100 years ago, in which case, fine. The undergraduate geography course at Oxford advertises within its curriculum an overseas field trip, which, to be honest, is all Theresa May was trying to offer the Windrush generation in the first place. 2 points to Jeremy. Kiri, who's coming straight out of courtroom?
So Dr. Dre, the rapper, has been trying to sue Dr. Dre, the gynecologist. In case people book the wrong one. And he feels that he's trading on his name. So he's just lost it. The gynecologist has won the court case, which is obviously great, because you can't call yourself a doctor and then sue real doctors. And it's an important test case, because if he'd have won, there might have been other rappers following suit. Like Exhibit might have been suing actual museums. Eminem might be taking a cut from that inexplicably busy shop on Leicester Square. And Old Dirty Bastard might be trying to sue Harvey Weinstein. So no one is confusing the two, are they? You're not going to book Dr. Dre, the gynecologist, to headline Coachella and be like, listen, you've been booked, so just get out there and tell these young kids about fannies for 45 minutes. He wrote a book as well, this gynecologist. He wrote a book called 20 Things You Might Not Know About the Penis, which is a hell of a passive-aggressive birthday gift to receive. I imagine.
Is Dr. Dre someone that's played a particularly important part in your life, Jeremy?
Which one are you talking about? Dr. Dre, the rapper, is saying, well, it would be terrible if people got us mixed up. And you think, well, all right, the worst that's going to happen to your fans is they think they've ordered a DVD of Straight Outta Compton, and they've actually got a sort of TED talk about the vulva. But the other way around, if you think that you've got something from a gynecologist, and it's actually Dr. Dre telling you, bitches ain't shit but tricks and hoes, when you're struggling with issues of women's health, I think that's potentially quite destabilising.
I'm on the side of Dr. Dre, though. It's hard when someone infringes on your brand, because I thought I had quite a weird name and I was the only Fern Brady, but there's another Fern Brady who's an erotic fiction writer in Texas. She bought fernbrady.com before me. I keep getting emails for her that are like, hey, do you want to come and read your story, The Kinky Wrinkly, at our erotic literature conference in Texas? I'm like, stop emailing me.
But you could accept one of those bookings. You could say, yeah, I'll come to Texas. Print a copy out for me. I'll read it when I get there.
Yeah, and then she can gig to drunks in Essex.
Are you very worried about this, Helen?
Yeah, I am. I went on Amazon, actually, to try and see if I could get a copy of... Because, he's bought out a companion book, which is 20 Things You Might Not Know About the Vagina. And I looked it up on Amazon, and it's so hot it's not listed on Amazon. But it did offer me a book called Things You Might Find in a Poet's Beard.
Such a good euphemism for it.
It's $37, this book.
Well, perhaps we should chip in and get a copy together and we can pass it around and
I don't
quiz
want
each
a
other.
well-thumbed copy of
It did suggest you could go from limp to lively with penis Pilates. I've only ever done Pilates in like a sort of community hall with lots of menopausal women. And I just don't think that's the venue for penis Pilates.
Penis Pilates was the man who killed Jesus.
How they won the cases, they argued that because Dr. Dre, the gynecologist, had a speaking fee of like $5,000, people wouldn't be making a casual purchase of it. Because it's one hell of a panic buy at a service station, isn't it? Happy Mother's Day, darling. Now, kids, push back the chairs. Dr. Dre is going to talk us through perimenopausal vaginal dryness.
The thing that I find baffling is apparently, as an older gentleman, I'm 57 in July, is when I was young, it was considered that once a lady was of maturity, her vagina would have a surround of furriness, and apparently this is not a thing no more. That the younger ladies think that it should not be, and I find that a bit scary. I mean, the last...
Mine's an absolute poet's beard.
Because the last time I went near a bald vagina, I put a nappy on it. It was a baby, I'm not weird. I just think... What's happened to all the furriness? There must be an EU pube mountain somewhere. That's why there's so many cushions in IKEA.
If any of the issues raised in this programme... This is the hip-hop producer and rap artist Dr. Dre, who has lost a battle for trademark infringement with a gynecologist, also called Dr. Dre. Just to update you on the state of my own court cases, I'm still allowed to call myself Dr. Love Machine, but no longer allowed to refer to myself professionally as Dr. Hilary Jones. So that's had to be scratched off the van. All of this will remind listeners of the heyday of the trad jazz era, when a fight broke out between 6 men on stage at the Birmingham Hippodrome about which of them was the real Acabilk. Gynecology is a fascinating field of medicine, which first emerged in the African-American communities of New York City in the late 1970s. No, hang on, I've got that wrong. God. No, it is easy to get confused. If you're a Radio 4 listener who's finding this talk about rap and vaginas out of place, then you're in for a shock when you hear that tonight's episode of The Archers is all about death metal and rimming. 2 points to Kiri.
Come on, Carrie, don't be so stick in the mud.
Absolutely exhausted Foley artist.
Linda Snell's looking a bit down in the mouth.
Helen, whose novel approach didn't make the grade?
This must be Ian McEwan, the novelist, who revealed this week that his son had been set an A-level essay on one of his novels, so he decided to give him a quick tutorial on it, and his son handed in the essay and got a C+ for it. And this is quite a well-established thing. I found out the New Statesman in 1949 had a competition to write in the style of Graham Greene, and Graham Greene entered and came second. And I just thought, I hope Graham Greene snapped up the guy who came first to write all his subsequent novels for him. Clearly he was a better Graham Greene. But then I found out the Ian McEwan novel involved was Enduring Love. Now, I don't know if anyone's read Enduring Love. There's a balloon in it, there's a stalker, someone goes psychotic halfway through. I'm kind of now on the teacher side, and I think maybe even Ian McEwan doesn't understand the plot of Enduring Love. So I think that C+ richly deserved.
Also, he could get his son in trouble, presumably, because he's basically admitted helping him cheat.
Yeah, but I mean, presumably the kid's at a private school, so...
Isn't that the point of a private school? You just go and see the master and say, look, the lad's a simpleton but loves cricket. Sure, we can come to some arrangement. What's your favourite charity? Would it be your wife's bank account or Russian mafia?
I love the work of Ian McEwan, actually. I love especially the one about the teenage vampire. I like that. I'm joking. I know they're all about teenage vampires. Anyone here got a favourite Ian McEwan novel?
On Chesil Beach is very short.
I did get an A star for my daughter's essay about the American Civil Rights Movement. I know all about the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Phil Randolph and all that.
I used to cheat. What I'd do is, at GCSEs, you know, like when you've got to remember formulas and stuff like that, I used to write them on my cleavage, and then you look down your top like you can't think of what you're doing, and no one can ask to look at your boobs.
Oh, these days you can't. It's gone mad.
I graduated from university when I was about 25, and I had my...
Were you desperately slow?
And I got a bit behind on it, basically. I rang up and said, what do I need to do to finish my degree? And they said, you need to write a dissertation about something. So I wrote a dissertation about something, and I handed it in, and then a few weeks later they said, we marked you got a 2-1, so I went to the graduation ceremony, and they got my certificate and my gown and whatever, and got hit on the head with John Knox's breeches. And I went to the some sort of reception at the faculty where I studied, and someone from the office came up and said, now that you've actually graduated, I thought we ought to confess to you that we lost quite a lot of your coursework. And I said, did you? And she said, yes. When we were putting your final marks together, we could never find your dissertation on the Dead Sea Scrolls, so we just had to give you an average marker. We were so embarrassed about it, but I thought I could tell you now. And anyway, I can tell them now, I never wrote one. But, thanks, guys. Absolutely formative experience. This is the novelist Ian McEwan, who helped his teenage son with an essay about his own novel, Enduring Love, but only managed to get him a C. It reminds me of the time Martin Amis went on Celebrity Mastermind, chose his own books as his specialist subject, answered biscuits to the first 3 questions, and then had a panic attack. It could be that young Master McEwan's teachers took exception to Ian's comments at parents' evening about all the bloody holidays you lot get. The essay was a 7,000-word stormer about a man who nearly writes a curriculum-compliant essay, but quails under the expectations of society and just walks along a beach for the entirety of the second half. It's a poisoned chalice, really, getting your book on the national curriculum. On the plus side, you shift a few more units, but you're never walking into a shopping centre again without the fear that a gang of youths will lynch you for having had to deal with your postmodern narrative structure. I was pissed in a pub once, went up to Julian Barnes. He didn't know a thing about his own novels, which is fair enough, because after a couple of hours it became increasingly clear that it wasn't actually him. 2 points to Helen. Fern, have a listen to this. Fern, who's regretting their prenuptial clause?
These 2 idiots that hired an owl to... They hired an owl to put their rings on them at their wedding. The owl was supposed to fly down the aisle and put the rings on them. But this was all assuming that animals abide by human laws, and the owl knew it was Stacey's one special day to shine as a bride. Instead... this owl decided, I've had enough, I'm sick of doing this job. So he starts just flying all over the place, and it turns out one of the wedding guests had a severe phobia of birds, so the owl flies towards him. He starts waving his hands, which unfortunately is the falconry sign for land on my head. He's been sacked now, this owl, Bobby. The company said, if you want to hire another owl for your wedding, you need to make your own arrangements. Now, they want to say this so that you think there's some sort of accountability, even though owls are accountable to no one except the moon.
Yeah, but the owl should take his union rep to HR. I mean, you can't face these things as an individual.
Is this like a popular English thing? Because my dad married some woman from Milton Keynes, and at the wedding... afterwards, this owl turns up on a boat, and Dad and his new bride got on the boat and just sailed off. And I thought it was like English bagpipes or something, so I didn't see anything. I thought it was tradition.
Was there a pussycat and an owl? It's deserved, though, isn't it? Because people just now, they can't just get married. Oh, we'll have birds of prey. Oh, let's have Vladimir Putin do the catering. Just get married and shut up. It's not going to last. The durability of a relationship is directly in inverse proportion to the faff you put into it. It's like when somebody says, I'm going to have a water birth in the sea attended by dolphins. You think you're going to be in the back of an ambulance screaming for morphine because that's what you deserve.
Do you think you can cut costs by doing the falconry yourself?
I can put on a little kestrel suit.
I have very few regrets in life, but one of mine is that at my first wedding, I nearly went down the aisle to the Imperial Death March from Star Wars. Think how great that would have been.
My dad and his wife went down the aisle to Bittersweet Symphony by the Verb.
Shoulder bulging everyone out the way.
Yeah. My boyfriend says you can see me rolling my eyes on the wedding footage. I was a bridesmaid.
This does seem to be a union that you've blessed, Fern. This is the sad tale of Bobby the Barn Owl, sacked from his post as ring bearer for weddings at the nauseatingly appropriately named Peckforton Castle in Cheshire, after attacking a best man. An owl being in charge of the wedding rings is very much the best way of saying to the world, I'd rather give this job to a flying talon beast than your awful nephew Jacob. Having animals as part of your big day is a worry in case any of your guests are allergic. Much easier to make the entire thing peanut and shellfish themed and see who survives the reception. Those, after all, are your real friends. You see, you just can't trust birds. We entrusted our rings to a Shetland pony, which flew in on a hang glider. You cannot put a price on class. I don't know how you go about sacking a barn owl, but I imagine it's a process that involves a cricket bat and a bin bag. 2 points to Fern. Before we reveal the final scores, has anybody got a cutting they'd like to share?
Oh, this was sent in by Jeremy Dixon in Reading, and he says, my local Michelin star restaurant in Reading, L'Hôtelan, just posted this on Facebook. Treat yourself to a BBC MasterChef The Professionals inspired experience with Gareth's new masterclasses and indulge with his new take on the halibut dish we all drooled over.
Lots of people saw this in the good deed feed in the Metro. It's a section of the paper where people write in to thank other people for their good deeds. This is Curly and Miles Platting said, I want to say a big thank you to Alan, who always gets the Metro and gives me one when I'm in.
Thank you, and now let's take a look at the final score. Jeremy and Kiri have 9, but this week's winners are Helen and Fern with 10. Before we leave you, here is an ad placed in the Sherborne Times, sent in by Tom and Louise Payne.
The George Albert Hotel, more than just a great sleep. Spend the evening with Liverpool legend Graham Souness, for one night only.
And with that, goodbye.
Taking part in the news quiz were Jeremy Hardy, Kerry Pritchard McLean, Helen Lewis and Fern Brady. In the chair was Miles Jupp, and the news was read by me, Susan Ray. The chair's script was written by Madeleine Brettingham, James Kettle and Robin Morgan, with additional material by Mike Shepherd and Catherine Brinkworth. The producer was Joe Nunnery, and it was a BBC Studios production.
present the news quiz with your host, Miles Jupp.
Welcome to the news quiz. Even though it's my final episode as news quiz chair, we've decided not to do anything special, so we start with the TV listing from BBC Two, read by former England cricket captain David Gower.
Cricket, highlights from today at the Oval, contains very strong language and some scenes of a sexual nature. It's changed.
Yeah. Our thanks to Mark Elms for sending that in. Now let's meet the teams. Really welcome first, on my right, Hugo Rifkind and Lucy Porter. And opposite them, on my left, Simon Evans and Zoe Lyons. Hugo, which 11 want number 10?
Oh, it's only 11, is it? This is the question of which Tories are going to throw their hat in the ring to lead the party and indeed the country after the sad departure of Theresa May. And the answer to that question of which Tories are going to throw their hat in the ring seems to be all of them. There's a huge number of people who are going for it. If we consider who we've got Dominic Raab, who's the sort of person who bullied you at school. We've got Michael Gove, who's the sort of person you wish you'd bullied at school. You've got Boris Johnson and Esther McVeigh, same policies, same hair. You've got Jeremy Hunt, who has a reputation of having a rude name even though he doesn't. And Matt Hancock, who has no such reputation even though he does. You've got Kit Malthouse, who once proposed the Malthouse Compromise, and now is the Malthouse Compromise, even though nobody knew what that was, and now nobody knows who he is. You've got James Cleverly, whose name doesn't even finish its own sentence. You've got Penny Mordaunt, prop forward Carrie Bradshaw. You've got Andrea Leadsom, who is not to be trusted with your Dalmatians. You've got the very middle of the road Sajid Javid, Javid Javis, as some people call him. You've got Philip Hammond, whose big pitch is that his entire party hates him. And then finally, you've got Rory Stewart, who admitted this week that he regrets once smoking opium, presumably because he now finds himself looking around at the rest of this unmitigated, twitching horror and wonders if he might still be hallucinating. And they all have to pretend that if they win, the first thing they'll do is solve Brexit, even though they know the whole reason that this is all even happening is because nobody can solve Brexit. And worse still, the people who get to choose which one of them becomes our Prime Minister is the tiny fraction of 1% of Britain who are Tory members, most of whom still seem to think that electing a candidate who even wants to solve Brexit, who wants to make any sort of deal with Europe at all, is sort of tantamount to electing Rennie from a lower low. And so it's not all going to end well, Miles, if it ever ends at all.
Congratulations to Andrea Leadsom. I mean, it's quite an achievement in that field to be the worst candidate, but well done. I liked, was it Rory Stewart's, the little one who's been popping up, inviting you to go and meet him? He's on social media, I don't know if you've seen this. And he's like, oh, I'm in Kew Gardens, right? And my kids saw that, and it was like a sort of rubbish version of Pokemon Go. They were like, oh, should we go?
Rory Stewart would be a really, really great leader of the Liberal Democrats, I think.
Well, he's like the one that people who aren't Tories want to be the leader, and that no Tories. He looks like if you melded together every Blue Peter presenter from the 80s.
It is strange, that video thing, though, because he pops up, doesn't he? He says, right, I'm in Brick Lane, come here. And it looks like he's sort of on the run, effectively. Those sort of people that get out of police jurisdiction and then film themselves saying, you can't get me now, you've got no extradition treaty. It looks slightly terrifying. Now, Simon, obviously, you're very sensible.
Well, I try and take a scientific approach. I have done some reading into the sort of background dynamics of this sort of situation. And, for instance, in the world of chimpanzees, the leader of the pack is very rarely the largest, strongest, or most obviously charismatic chimp. It's the one that's good at building coalitions. Some chimps are just able to kind of accrue consensus about their plans. And I think that's a useful insight. And I've had a look at the candidates, and the one that looks most like a chimp to me is, in fact, Rory Stewart. He just has the ears, so I think he might pull it off.
She's got 1 week left in number 10, hasn't she? What would you do? I think she's sewing prawns into the hems of curtains. That's what she's doing. that she's just leaving little bombshells to go off here, there, mackerel behind the radiators.
I was wondering what, if she leaves the job, what she might be going to do next. And I wondered if you could think of any jobs that were coming available, Miles.
No, I mean, if she's prepared to interview, they'd be mad not to consider her. I mean, she's got very, very cool head. She's clearly relaxed in front of people. She's got the time.
Can I ask, what's this latest with Boris and the court case, where a politician has been accused of lying? Whereas if that was extended to the natural end and all 630 were cited in the same case, that might achieve a solution.
You're basically advocating a cull.
Now you mention it, yes. Just give myself 2 points, thank you.
This is the race for the Conservative Party leadership. It's not a literal race, but perhaps it should be. Indeed, who'd say no to watching them all run the 100 metres while balancing John Burkow on a spoon? Rory Stewart admitted to smoking an opium pipe during a wedding in Iran, and Jeremy Hunt said he'd drunk a cannabis lassie while backpacking across India, which sets the trend for this leadership campaign being holiday-based drug admissions. Wait for next week when Mac Hancock reveals that he went to Bournemouth on a stag do and ended up with an armful of smack, and Andrea Leadsom tearfully tells the Telegraph about the time she took ketamine at Legoland. But who would have thought we'd arrive at the point where many people are looking at the prime ministerial candidates and thinking, gosh, I do hope it's the opium fiend. 2 points to Hugo. Lucy, for whom is the party over?
Yes, this is the news that Alistair Campbell has been expelled from the Labour Party for publicly admitting that he voted Lib Dem in the European elections, which, considering what they will tolerate from their members, apparently voting Lib Dem is the final straw. I can sort of see both sides in this, really, because on the one hand, fair enough, if you are in a party and you claim to love it, then you would think in a democracy the main way you show that love is by voting for that party, which Alistair Campbell doesn't see. It's like when I had a boyfriend who claimed that actually sleeping with other women just proved how much he loved me. Bitter. I am. Didn't need to bring that anecdote in, but I thought I would.
Because he's in.
It's David. One thing that I do find weird about this is everyone saying how they voted, right? Because I think it's a secret ballot for a reason, isn't it? Like my mum used to say, there are two things you do in a cubicle, and I don't want to hear about either of them, frankly. OK, yes, it is a bad thing to vote for another party, but given some of the people they're letting stay in, like Kate Hoey, how we're saying that, like Huawei. I mean, last time I looked, she was kind of surgically attacked to Nigel Farage.
I saw Claire Short on Newsnight, I think it was 2 nights ago, talking about the problem with anti-Semitism. A lot of people feel that there should have been more decisive action, but as she points out, the definition of anti-Semitism itself has now been broadened to include people who harbour a deep distrust of the Jews and what they're up to, and that makes things awkward, if you're trying to keep a party together.
It's just another inconsistency, though, isn't it, from the Labour Party in that, Corbyn loves a rebel. He is a rebel. He should be encouraging rebels. I mean, he voted against his own party on so many issues over so many years. He should be out there. He's probably secretly voted Conservative for the last 15 years.
I felt quite bad for Corbyn, because you can imagine him, after he heard about Campbell, coming into the office the next day and going, guys, can you believe it? There are people who are members of the Labour Party who don't want me to be Prime Minister. And the whole office just kind of sort of looking down. But I also felt bad for Campbell, because I too have been kicked out of a political party. I was once kicked out of the Liberal Democrats.
Wow.
This is quite a long time ago. They were having a leadership contest when they'd, I can't remember who it was they just got rid of. There was this joke at the time that while being the Lib Dem leader was like being Julius Caesar, because you got stabbed in the back by men in sandals. That was it. But they had this leadership contest afterwards, and they were like falling like flies, the contendants. There was one who turned out he owned too many houses. There was one who was an alcoholic. There was one who kept saying he was gay and then not gay and then gay again, in that kind of way that Lib Dems do. And they all fed into this sort of narrative of, Lib Dems doing things like having affairs and getting people's dogs killed and all that kind of stuff. And in the middle of all this, I was writing a gossip diary for the paper, and I found out you could join the Lib Dems for £6 and vote in their leadership election. So I did, and wrote about it in the paper. Then they phoned me up and said, "Are you going to bring the party into disrepute?" And I said, "Do I have to?" And they weren't in the mood, so they kicked me out.
Does anyone know what Corbyn's been up to this week? How has he responded to his disappointing election results?
No idea.
He's had a bit of a quiet think. He's pledged to support a second referendum on any Brexit deal. You're unconvinced by this?
Well, he'd sort of pledged that already. It's like literally the party's policy. But now he's just sort of pledged to eventually consider actually meaning it, which is it's just.
Has he pledged to consider it, or is he considering it?
He's going to consider considering it.
Oh, you can pledge to consider anything. I mean, I pledged to consider doing the hoovering today. It never got done.
This is the Labour Party, who have expelled Alistair Campbell after he said that he'd voted for the Liberal Democrats in the European elections and for Israel in Eurovision. Deputy Leader Tom Watson said the party should be listening rather than punishing. Oh, someone's been to couples therapy. Tom, you can only speak when you're holding the talking cushion. Also this week, following disappointing election results, Jeremy Corbyn pledged to support a second referendum on any Brexit deal. A second referendum is very much the political equivalent of turning your computer off and on again in the hope that it will fix the problem, ignoring the fact that it's actually on fire and consistently printing out the words, "help me." If the results of a second referendum are not conclusive, there would then be a third referendum, then a fourth, fifth and sixth. After the sixth, there'd be a period of reflection and national mourning for those we've lost along the way. Then there'd be a seventh and eighth referendum, and we'd be so into the groove by then that we'd do a ninth and a tenth just for fun. If we still hadn't worked it out by then, we simply put a pine cone on a windowsill, and if it opens, we leave the EU. 2 points to Lucy. Simon, who's not calling last orders?
Not calling last orders. Is this the nudist pub? No. I don't quite understand this reference, I don't think.
Right. No, I can understand it. I mean, realistically, how much thinking time do you think you should be allowed to buy?
I know where you're going with this. Sorry, I know where you're going. You're going with John Bercow, aren't you, who's refusing to resign or to step down. Last orders, OK. Orders, as in order.
With your customary alacrity, you have got...
I have easy.
Right in there, you've hit the nail on the head. Ram eku tetagistic. Extraordinary. No, incredible. A devilish display of brainwork.
Would you like me to pick that up more cleanly on a retake?
No, it's completely up to you. I'll ask you one more... No, go for it. We know where we are.
Yeah. This will be John Bercow, whose name I can never pronounce with any confidence.
I'm afraid it's a story about a nude pub, Simon. So close. No, please.
John Bercow, whose name, as I say, I can never pronounce with complete confidence. It looks as if it should be Burkoff or something like that, but I'm not sure. But all I know is... Sorry? Berkoway. He has refused, or he has announced in any way, that he will not be standing down, despite having indicated over the last few years that this would be his final year. He feels that whilst Brexit is still sort of seething and unresolved as it is, it would be foolish to hand over to some ingenue who was unfamiliar with his determination to remain within the EU. So...
They wanted him to go after those bumper stickers were on his car, which... I found that really nostalgic. Do you remember when bumper stickers were social media? That was it. You could only get angry when you were driving really close behind somebody in front who had different opinions to you.
But of course, at this time of lots of concern for the environment, I don't think we should be encouraging people to get into cars, so I think people should tattoo their thoughts to the
back of their heads.
To their naked posteriors.
Well, it's not a bad idea. I walked behind a woman the other day in Brighton who had Carpe Diem tattooed on the back of her thighs, and I just thought, wow... Seize the day with your thighs. That's some undertaking. You need strong internal leg muscles for that. Pop the lid off a bottle of beer.
I have genuinely seen, it's called a tramp stamp, isn't it? In certain quarters, that sort of small of the back tattoo, and I've genuinely seen one which read, "Only the brave," which I thought was... Bit of an own goal there, possibly.
I've had that one covered up now.
This is the impish John Bercow, who, despite speculation that he would stand down this summer, plans to stay on as Speaker of the House. Bercow feels that this is in the best interests of the country, seemingly confusing the country with John Bercow. While it's not for me to comment, it does make you think, what chance does Parliament have of extricating us from Europe if they can't remove one tiny man dressed as the Scottish widow? It's unknown what Bercow will do after he steps down, but as a man who's primarily known for being short and good at shouting, he could either be a rowing cox or a serviceable Greg Wallace. 2 points to Simon.
Thank you.
Zoe, who has finally accepted their age?
Oh, this is planet Earth. Has entered a new era, apparently. Geologists have voted to herald in the start of a new epoch. Apparently we are now entering the Anthropocene epoch, which I had to Google that because I thought it was the equestrian-loving cousin of Jacob Rees-Mogg. Here she comes, Anthropocene, on a little pony. We are entering the age of man, apparently. That's what we are entering. It's a big deal. Apparently, geologists have to put forward their claim that we have left the Holocene age that we were in. Holocene age, I think it's called. Yeah, we started at the...
Huawei.
The Hawaiian scene. But apparently the Apothecracene epoch started... Apothecracene.
People who dress up as 19th century chemists.
It's the Apothecracene. It's massive. It's huge in Nottingham. Just get the little jars out and mix some stuff up. It's great. That's why Boots is based there. Anyway, so...
You're doing very well. I couldn't even do the epoch bit. I thought that was a little furry thing from Star Wars.
It's quite... Basically, the Earth is old, right? That's what I've learned. But it's all got its little names as we've gone through. Obviously, we're familiar with the Jurassic period, which was about 214 to 140 million years ago. And now we're entering the Age of Man, which they think started in 1950, which seems really specific, considering the massive years of the Jurassic period. And the thing that they are saying has started the age of man is man's irreversible damage or impact on the planet. And certain key factors are the arrival of nuclear bombs and industrial farming of chickens. So it's nukes and nuggets have heralded in the new age. I think it's sort of depicted by just grown men on electric scooters. That's where we've evolved to.
I know backstage on this programme we talk about geology a lot.
Always.
But Simon, you've always struck me as, in many ways, the biggest enthusiast. And you're angry about this.
Am I? Switching to improv rules. I am a little bit sceptical for the reasons that Zoe has outlined. It seems an extraordinarily narrow band of time to designate an entire epoch as begun, as I think it is understood. You know, the owl of Minerva spreads its wings at the falling of the dusk, and I'm not sure that we've achieved that situation just
yet. I have no idea what you've just said.
It's a coded message to his handlers.
Is this about the nudist pub?
But it is worth remembering that nothing ever truly dies. Dinosaurs and the ferns and various plant life on which they fed at that time, of course, eventually sort of mulched down nicely, producing the fossil fuels on which we rely nowadays for oil and petrol and plastics, of course, which makes you wonder just how much of any given plastic dinosaur is, in fact, dinosaurs. Not directly relevant, but it's something I bring up whenever I have an opportunity.
Did you see this with the other fossil-related story this week, is that the United States have now renamed natural gas freedom gas. This was two of Trump's appointed officials who work within the Department of Energy sent out a press release about something fairly innocuous, but rather than calling it natural gas, they've called it freedom molecules and freedom gas, which they are sending to Europe. They're exporting to Europe in a bid to spread their freedom. It's just incredible. Particularly calling it freedom gas. It's what America loves to think of itself as the land of the free, doesn't it? And freedom gas. It's amazing to think that
gas molecules could have potentially more freedoms and rights than a lot of women in certain states in the United States at the moment when it comes to their reproductive rights. It's doubly twisted because Rick Perry, who is the US Secretary of Energy, he's actually a believer in intelligent design. So he doesn't believe in dinosaurs or the fossils being created by mulching down over millions of years. He believes that the Earth's about 6,000 years old and that God put oil there just as sort of little prezi.
Rick Perry said an extraordinary thing. He said America is again delivering a form of freedom to Europe, and rather in the form of young American soldiers, it is in the form of natural liquefied gas. He's mad. This is the news that we humans have officially created a new geological epoch, the Anthropocene, meaning the age of man, after scientists voted to recognise the term this week. The epoch started in the mid-20th century when the use of agricultural chemicals and atomic bombs left an indelible mark on the Earth, and we finally started winning the fight against plants. It's our world now, plants. You're now doomed to a life at the garden centre. If you're lucky, you get a cower next to some decking tethered to a trellis. Not even Bob Flowerdew can save you now, you green idiots. This is the news that Earth is entering the age of man. So, to all the men out there saying, but when's International Men's Day? Here you go. You get a whole epoch where... It is so named because of man starting the irrevocable damage of the environment, but nevertheless it is all yours. Ours. Sorry. The scientists are now looking to identify what is known as a golden spike, a clear indicator of when the new epoch began. If you're listening, scientists, may I suggest David Gower's century at Lord's against Australia in 1989. I think we all knew things would never be the same again. 2 points to Zoe, and at the end of round one, the scores are Hugo and Lucy have 4, Zoe and Simon have 4, and David Gower has 2. We start round 2 with a cutting from the Evening Standard.
Archer earns a World Cup place as axe falls on Willie.
Well, thanks
that one in memory of Brian Johnston.
Our thanks to Rob Rouse for sending us that. Whose Wi-Fi is out of this world?
This is the news that Elon Musk, the world's third least popular billionaire, caused a bit of a stir this week with the launch of 60 satellites as part of the Starlink project to provide worldwide free internet, and they got mistaken by stargazers for UFOs. I mean, it's a good job it wasn't aliens, because there has never been a worse time for anyone to say, take me to your leader. Loads of people really like Elon Musk, and I don't know, I sort of waver. He's very childish. So the Tesla cars, they're the S, the E and the X model. The spell set. I told that to my 7-year-old, and even he rolled his eyes and said it was a bit childish. You know, and the SpaceX rockets, I think that's because it's also got sex in it. I think the next Tesla model is going to be the 531-8008. I love that some of you didn't get that. Millennials, they don't know. You never turned a calculator upside down, some of you have you? Boobies. Anyway.
They always get carried away, these like tech billionaires. They can never just invent a better pencil. He wants to put 12,000 satellites into space. 12,000. He's going to basically fill up near space with satellites, and all the astronomers are very upset because they're reflecting too much light and messing up astronomy. But there's something nice about all these people looking up in the sky and going, wow, I wonder which creepy, weird and odd life form is responsible for that. And the answer is Elon Musk.
So what you're saying is he's creating a sort of net in the sky, a sort of sky net, if you will, out of these satellites. That is pretty alarming, isn't it? I have to say I am torn, because I do like Elon Musk's great ambitions, but on the other hand, it is quite nice occasionally to be able to get away from signal, isn't it? Occasionally, to have your kids put their screens down, you know, without you having to make them wear a lead sombrero. I mean,
you must have been amazed the day they finally came in handy.
I got them at a knockdown price. I thought, this is worth it, you know. The church weren't happy, but... I am quite nostalgic by inclination, by sentiment. I miss the days of dial-up, to be honest, you know, when you watched a picture appear in front of you like something being constructed on a loom. You know?
Even if there are 12,000 satellites providing Wi-Fi up in space, I still won't be able to get it in my back room. I know I won't. But I actually saw the satellites. I was coming down my street at midnight on my own. There was nobody around. And I saw this trail of lights in the sky. And I momentarily did lose my mind. I did, because I think of myself as a fairly rational person. But I was like, what the hell is that? It was just a stream of 60 lights all in a row. Oh. And it was incredible. And I thought, well, maybe it's a really elaborate wedding celebration where they've set off, strung together lanterns. And I was actually in the middle of my road throwing up bits of grass into the air to see which way the wind was blowing. And I was like, it's not lanterns, it's not lanterns. And I was on my own in the street. I found myself mouthing the words, they're coming. They're coming. And I ran home and I woke my wife up and I thought, if they are coming and this is the end of the world, I've got to be bold and do what I want with my life. So I told her I was leaving her and I shot the dog, and now I feel so stupid.
This is Elon Musk, who launched 60 satellites last week, causing reported UFO sightings to surge. Amazon are also planning to create its own network of internet satellites, which will help them locate your parcel when the guy from Yodel has launched it into a hedge. The event was caught on an edition of the BBC's Stargazing Live, with Professor Brian Cox dropping to his knees and shouting, "Finally, the prophecies are true. You've arrived. Probe me, and I shall reveal the secrets of mankind. You'll need a torch." 2 points to Lucy. Simon, who ranks down low on the high street?
Oh, this is W.H. Smith, sadly, who I think for the 9th year in the row have been in the bottom 2 of high street stores according to Which magazine, which if I was W.H. Smith, I would probably stop stocking around now. There is a fairly easy solution. I feel very sorry. I mean, W.H. Smith have at least stuck it out, haven't they? If things carry on much as they are now at the moment on the high street, they'll be the worst, the best and the only shop. It may well be the next Woolworths to go under because its business model has been superseded in most respects. People get their news online now. We may be moving into a brief season where W.H. Smith becomes viable because, you know, however much you might want to read the news on an iPad, they're hard to roll up to swat a wasp with. But there are the occasional needs for a newspaper. I actually, literally, the last time I bought a newspaper, I'm not joking, was because my daughter needed it in order to complete a recycling project for school. You know, the world is moving on. There was a time, I remember when I was about 11 years of age, W.H. Smith was basically like the internet. It was the only source of pornography, for a start, that we had in St Albans. You used to go in there, and I never go for the top shelf because you get chucked out and banned. But there were always one or two interesting sort of paperback novels. There was one about a woman who lived in the Ice Age and made friends with a bear, and I'll leave it there. But you know, if you knew where to go, you could find curiosities like that. But that sort of stuff has gone now, and their business model seems essentially to rest upon persuading you to buy a bar of chocolate the size of a table tennis, table that you had no... I think they must be basically funded by Big Pharma, insulin manufacturers, I assume. Not Big Pharma, the top shelf magazine, which they do still stock, but that's... It's an unfortunate homophone. But yeah, I think they may be on the way out, sadly.
They do have some interesting offers, sort of buy, one for £1, two for £2. Yeah, well, fair enough.
Because the only place that they're successful is in airports, because you're sort of a captive audience and you have to use them. And like, I went in, if you want to buy water, you have to have the Daily Telegraph. Which is, I don't want the Daily Telegraph, I don't want it.
Rather remain parched and left-wing, thank you.
Be a great cartoon in the desert. Politically uncompromised water.
Yeah, I get very cross about this because I loved it when I was a kid. W.H. Smith was the first place I ever shoplifted. When I was 2, my mum took me in. She said she was in there with me in my pushchair, and she came out and I was holding a massive gardening book. And And she said, and I was like, oh my God, that must have been really embarrassing when you took it back. And she said, I didn't take it back.
No, it is very sad that a shop like this goes under, but I suppose in a way there is an inevitability about it when so many people steal from them. This is W.H. Smith, who for the second year have ranked the UK's worst high street retailer. The top 5 included John Lewis and Lakeland, so I think we know the sort of people being asked their opinion, and coincidentally, they're all in the audience tonight. This survey has been very harsh on what is, after all, one of the few constants in British life. Sure, it might not have the fancy glitz of paper chase or the thrusting dynamism of a Ryman's. It doesn't have the cheeky charm of a Clinton's, nor the solemn, ordered atmosphere of a branch of the works. But it's been with us through thick and thin. The Napoleonic Wars, the Boer War, the World Wars, Cleggmania. In a very real way, W.H. Smith's is Britain, and I will defend it with my life. No, I do not want a large bar of Galaxy for £1. 2 points to Sam. Zoe, who'd like nuts with their pint?
Is this John Burko? This is the story of a pub in London, a very famous pub in Soho, the Coach and Horses, that has just been granted a licence to allow it to have nudist evenings. Of course, why not? For so many reasons, why not? I used to work in pubs. Oh, my God. Oh, you'd have to bring your own towel, wouldn't you? Because you have to wipe down those stools at the end of the day. No. It's just not British, is it? We just don't. Like, pop it away. But they're doing this in an attempt to sort of stay independent and not have the big brewery take it over. And apparently Coach and Horses was the first vegetarian pub, ironically, in London. And now you can actually just get your meat and 2 veg out. It's just so many questions. I mean, apparently it's going to be on designated nights, which is nice, because I'm horrified if I walk into a pub and there's a band I wasn't expecting. I've had enough getting an earful, never mind an unwanted eyeful. And it's just so many questions. Where'd you get your money? I don't know. I mean, a carefully placed credit card betwixt one's tense buttocks, I can only imagine, which really brings contactless into its own.
It is a bold move. You have got to admire their balls, haven't you?
Pure balls to do this.
Does anyone want to guess where we're having our after party?
Do people go there in clothes and then have to take their clothes off? Or is it your excuse for going all the way there naked? Commuting naked? Because they're always frauds, nudists, aren't they? They're always wearing shoes. It's not right.
That is the weirdest look of all, isn't it? That looks... Because living in
mountain boots.
Yeah, mountain boots or socks and sandals, but completely naked otherwise. It's... Because there's a nudist beach in Brighton, and that's the look that they like to take on there. It's like a really predatory meerkat. It's just... It's naked, but it can move over stones quickly. It's just...
You'd want to keep your shoes on though, wouldn't you? Because I've never been in a pub toilet and thought, well, I tell you what would improve this, no shoes.
The whole thing's horror. I mean, imagine just popping in and just bumping into somebody you know in work. You know, like, oh, David, nice to see you. Can I get you a drink? Another short? I've once been on a nudist beach and it was the most horrific experience of my life. It was with my wife. We were in Greece. There was a nudist beach and she went, come on, so, get him out. It's all right. And I was like, no, I don't want to. It took ages for me to... Finally, I got naked and I was really uncomfortable. I don't know if anybody's ever done it. And I was sort of settling into the horror that it was. And then out of nowhere, we're in the middle of bloody nowhere, comes this couple prancing down the beach who suddenly recognised my wife and goes, Cindy, hello, it's Wolfgang and Kristen. Friends of hers from Austria, they come bounding over. They're fully clothed. I'm stark naked, completely naked, and we had to stand up and shake their hands. And the only thing I can remember about it is seeing my naked self reflected in Crystal's massive sunglasses. It was every nightmare come true.
So we once stayed in this sort of spa hotel in the Alps in Germany. My wife was writing about it. She's a travel writer, and we went to they had this lovely pool on the roof. It was full of steam and everything. It was lovely, and we got in it and we're swimming around. And you can see other people through the mist. And I suddenly go to my wife, no one else in here is wearing anything. And she's like, well, it's just fine. It's Germany. My wife's German as well. She goes, it's what the Germans do. And I was like, right, but I feel really uncomfortable that I'm clothed and nobody else is. She's like, well, don't be. That's ridiculous. And I was like, no, I'm really uncomfortable. I'm going to take my shorts off. So I took my shorts off and chucked them to the side. And I was like, I'm much happier now. I'm like everybody else. And she said, you're weird. I'm going off down to the gym. And I said, fine, see you later. And I stayed there basking in communal nudity. And then gradually people started leaving and people started coming. And after a while, I went from being the only person who had been clothed in a swimming pool full of naked people to being the only naked person in a swimming pool full of clothed people, which is not what should happen if you're British.
Simon, conversely, you're very pro this.
Well...
And you've in fact been quite a vocal part of the petition to have these...
I do think, London pubs, as a rule, are plagued by pickpockets.
Why not make them work a little bit harder for their money? Quite right, yeah.
The opportunity for misunderstandings, though, is obvious, isn't it? It's going to be the only pub in which saying, make it a large one, is actually an act of sexual harassment rather than a simple request.
It might lead to a whole
Dry
new genre.
roasted nuts.
Yeah, well, you could have the old, man walks into a naked pub, says to the barman, are these nuts complimentary? And the barman says, yes, they go very well with your penis. Anyway. It's my only sadness about this whole story, because, to me, any pub is a naked pub if you've drunk enough, frankly.
Yeah, you mustn't listen to those people pleading with you to get dressed.
No, exactly. But the only sadness for me is that the pub is the Coach and Horses, because I wish it had been the Slug and Lettuce, because those are the nicknames that my husband and I have for our genitals. So,
Of course, yes, it's incredibly flat green penis. I can't believe it, that was my final ad-lib on the newspaper. This is a pub in Soho, which is... This is a pub in Soho, which has become the first pub to be granted with a nudist licence. The landlord of the pub has said they will hold regular events. Tuesday is salsa, Wednesday is the pub quiz, and Thursday is curry and your chap out night. The pub has been fully vegetarian since 2012, so if you see a sausage on your plate, put the knife and fork down. It's another example of the rank hypocrisy at the centre of British life. Someone opens a nudist pub in Soho and it's fine, whereas I open a naked, crazy golf course on a roundabout near Longleat, I'm banned from Wiltshire. But who doesn't love the traditional noises of a bar? The hubbub of chatter, the clink of glasses, the last orders bell, and the unmistakable sound of a clammy thigh being peeled off a faux leather banquette. Truly, this is the country I love. 2 points to Zoe. Before we reveal the final scores, has anybody got a cutting they'd like to share? Hugo.
Yes, this is sent in by Ben Collins, and it's from the website of the Rockwell Inn in Exmoor. And it reads, the East Lynn River is famed as one of the UK's best salmon and trout fishing rivers. Of course, this Devon bed and breakfast is popular with anglers. If you are lucky, they can be seen spawning in pebbly shallows.
Lucy.
Tim Shelston in Gateshead saw this poster when visiting the Liverpool Maritime Museum last week. The Cruel Sea, free drop-in event.
Simon.
Noah Warwick in Vancouver has sent in a photograph of 2 posters in his local liquor store, whose adjacency is ironic. The first one reads, communication is key. Talk to your children about underage drinking. And the second one, say it with wine.
Zoe.
This was sent in by John Grierson in Cornwall, and it was a notice he'd noticed in his local golf club. It says, please do not spend too much time looking for your balls. You'll be holding up players behind you.
Thank you. And now let's take a look at the final scores. David Gower has 2. Hugo and Lucy have 8, but this week's winners are Simon and Zoe with 9. Before we leave you, here is an intriguing offer spotted at Essex County Cricket Club, sent to us by Tom Raffan.
The players will be doing an autograph session after the game, so do come along to the pavilion and get your bits signed.
And with that, thank you for having me. Goodbye.
Taking part in the News Quiz Extra were Hugo Rifkin, Lucy Porter, Simon Evans and Zoe Lyons. In the chair was Miles Jupp, and the news was read by me, David Gower. The chair script was written by Lucy Clark, Robin Morgan and Benjamin Partridge, with additional material by Catherine Brinkworth, Charlie Dinkin and Kat Sadler. The producer was Sarah Sharp, and it was a BBC Studios production.